Stand, say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next will be the approval of minutes. Are there any additions, corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner Everly, seconded by Commissioner Terry for the approval of the minutes. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Next to be the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, corrections, subtractions?
I think there should be an addition added with this summit.
Okay. A little bit of discussion under old unfinished business for the Summit boom model. Are there any other additions to the agenda?
I would like to bring up about GPS in county vehicles.
Okay. Talked about that under old and unfinished business. Well, no, that's really not, that's new business, so, I think we can, well, we can probably just put it at the end. Just put it at the end of the whole thing for that, so.
Okay.
GPS and county vehicles. Any other additions to the agenda?
We got a Frank on the fence,
Oh, that's not on here. I thought that'd be under old. Well, we can put that under old unfinished business. Will be the update on the Whirlinger fence. Are there any other additions to the agenda? Not hearing any, I'd like to take a motion to amend the agenda. Or approve the agenda as amended. Motion by Commissioner Everly to approve the agenda as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is amended. First item under old and unfinished business, we have county committee member replacing Corbley Oldham.
I still haven't found anybody. I asked somebody again this weekend and they didn't get back to me, so.
Next item on the agenda for old and unfinished business will be the public nuisance on 8080 Highway 83 South Linton, also known as the Evenson property. Looks like he's still cleaning on it.
Paperwork's been filed, so from my perspective, I don't have anything left other than if the court, assuming court issues the judgment, then I'll have to serve him with a notice of entry of judgment, and then I'll give you guys a copy of it, but right now I'm just kind of waiting.
Yeah, it still looks pretty bad back there. I went back there the other
Oh,
day.
God, it's in a mess.
You know, those other people, those Filipino people that live there beside, you know, they complain. Call me every once in a while that they would like that cleaned up too, you know. Cause they got a little boy there, I think too, you know.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Linton get after the guy that lived next to Gary, next to you to the south? Didn't they get after that? Did they condemn them homes? That place next to you to the south?
Well, they cleaned it up a couple of times.
Well, how did they go about that? How did they approach
Then they
that?
got a hold of, well, Joe would know.
Yeah, well, they did the same process, they got a court order. There was one that they got a court order to tear down that house, cause we actually got an administrative warrant, went inside the house, had a building inspector come down from Bismarck, and he submitted like a 50-some page report with photos and everything. And that, the reason we tore that house down in the city did is because of his report. I mean, at the end, it said it was the worst house he's ever seen, so.
Well, this place is, I think, is becoming to the same.
Yeah, that house is.
It's totally going down. There's no doubt.
Well, at least in the past, the county hasn't has been reluctant to do anything in the interior of these buildings, especially residential homes, so I guess I didn't really pursue that, but the judgment will cover all the
Outside structure.
personal property items outside, vehicles, trailers, building supplies, you name it, it'll be in there, so. But as far as inside the house, it won't have any effect. If you wanted to do that, then you probably have to do the same process, get a building, somebody that has the expertise, building inspector that's licensed, and they need to have a warrant from the court to go into somebody's property, so I
Because
have
that's
to
a touchy
file an
deal.
application for that, yeah.
Is there an ordinance in the county for keeping your place up, or?
I don't know if there's an ordinance, but there's state laws that apply. I'll leave that up to you guys, because, yeah, I know we've been reluctant in the past to really go into somebody's property unless, you know, we do it obviously when there are children involved, you know, social services gets that going, and then there's some, you know, they have to make sure the kids are safe, but a case like this, it probably wouldn't happen unless that's something that you guys really want to pursue for some reason.
And legally, we can't really, can we?
Well, I mean, you can ask the clerk or the court for that permission. That's what that warrant process would be. You have the right to inspect buildings as a county.
You do.
You just have zoning authority, so if you have a feeling that it's a dangerous building, I mean, of course, yeah, we could make that request to the court, and I think it would be granted. I don't know if this is one that qualifies. It might just be a messy one, not necessarily.
Because there's a lot of people that are hoarders,
Right.
and it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically what that is.
And it's a sick.
The one in Linton, there was a hole in the roof, there were kids involved, so you had a situation whether that was safe for the kids. So it's a kind of a different, maybe more.
Different deal.
Thing.
Any other discussion on that topic? If not, we'll move on to the other part, which is, or the next item on the old and unfinished business, which is the consideration on changing the part-time position in the Director of Tax Equalization Office to benefited part-time, table from last month. Wayne, do you have any kind of an update on it or anything, or?
On that, I do not.
Okay. So basically, the way it was explained to me was that, essentially, Kareen only needs to work basically another hour or two a week to qualify for partial benefits, basically a prorated health insurance and then a retirement benefit, which being only part-time, it's not a considerable change because you're going from basically 18 to 20 hours a week or 20.
Right, it'd be like around 21.
Right, so it's like, yeah, it's yeah, that's Karina right there, yeah, so Karina works in, she's Wayne's assistant, I believe is the title essentially, so, I guess in my opinion, this was probably an oversight when that position was created. It probably should have been created to be that like benefited part-time. I mean, it's one thing if you're doubling the schedule, it's another thing if you're just adding another hour or two to be able to create a minor benefit. I feel like it should have just probably been there in the first place because
That was my understanding.
well, it makes it much more recruitable. You know, if you're gonna have this position, it's different if it was another 10 hours a week to make it where it's like, okay, now you're modifying the position. Adding another hour or two a week so you can qualify for a little bit of retirement and prorated health insurance. Seems like that was kind of an oversight when the position was created. I feel that's I mean, that just seems like one of them things that probably should be looked at a little bit harder when that position got created. So I guess I don't have a problem with it as long as it's consistent with the handbook and the way we're doing it with the other employees, which from what I was told, talking with Marlis, once you get to the specific hour rate, you qualify for the retirement, and that's a set percentage. So that's the same with all the other employees. And then the insurance is prorated based on the hours you work above a certain amount. So it's basically calculated month to month. It's not like a set amount you get once you start work. So if there were months that she didn't meet that, she wouldn't qualify for as much health insurance or any health insurance. And if she works extra, she would get a little more. It's calculated month to month. So it seems to be pretty consistent with the way we're doing some of the other part-time employees in the courthouse, so
So do we have to have a motion to?
I think so, just to make sure that it's, solidified and everything, but as far as the budgeting part too, it's gonna be a small amount. It
Right.
probably won't even need amending with the budget, cause it's probably the difference of $1,000 a year or something, I mean, more
It came out
likely.
to 2,400
Okay, well,
For
I
an
mean, even at
entire
that, I
year.
mean,
For an
generally,
entire
a lot
year.
of these.
for an entire year.
Yeah,
I mean, typically, unless you really run your budget down, you're probably gonna have a remainder of that much, so it probably won't even need to get amended. And if it would need to get amended, it'd probably be a very small amount, so I don't have a problem with it, I guess, and I will admit the very little information that I did gather on it, I actually kind of forgot about it until I seen it on the agenda, so I apologize for that. But, that being said, if anybody else has any other opinion on it, that's fine, but that's just kind of the explanation and the thought process I had, so.
no, I'll make a motion to change it to a part-time position then.
Okay, so Commissioner Hull makes the motion to change it to a benefited part-time position for the assistant to the tax director. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner Miller makes a second. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion approved and the position is amended.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda here for old and unfinished business would be just kind of an update on the Summit Plume model. Commissioner Materi has some information he wants to bring to light, or?
All I had was in the Bismarck Tribune, and it stated that the officials, commissioners can request this plume model, as you probably got a copy that you can read.
So it references, I'm guessing this is the Bismarck Tribune here, it references
Yeah.
that, I'm guessing it references Jeff Scarry here when he states that, he said, the company has received permission from federal regulators to share its plume dispersion model with emergency managers across the state and wants to share it with some Bismarck officials. The dispersion model estimates the potential spread of a chemical if a rupture were to occur in the pipeline. We have emergency managers who we are ready and willing to meet with so that they can gain the perspective, and they are the advisors to the commission, Scotty says. I guess I have no update that, I'm assuming they'd be referencing like Mary Sanger there for Berlin and Emmons County, so we share an emergency manager. I haven't heard anything from her about her being shown it or looked into it or anything like that, so I guess that's news to me that they're willing to share the plume model.
Well, I just caught my attention when I read that article, and I thought, well, I'm gonna highlight it and bring it to the commission,
I know there is a hearing on December 21st. I forget which room at the Capitol will be, but the PSC is having a hearing because Summit made the motion. They filed the same motion they filed before to basically nullify ours and Burley County's zoning ordinances, basically referring to the pipeline. They're saying we're being overly restrictive and we're trying to keep the pipeline out of our county essentially.
So
So
how's it going down south Florida, do you know?
I haven't heard anything.
they don't really hear
It's
nothing.
been really quiet, so I don't know if that's good or bad.
South Dakota's meeting this year.
The legislature's meeting,
So the Navigator, we're
That's coming.
mothballed.
I'm sure there'll be some information coming from that, I'm sure, because that session will have a jam packed this, so.
That's gonna be in the Pioneer Room, back of the wall.
Pioneer Room?
First
Okay.
room.
Yep, I
2
believe
o'clock.
it starts at, yeah, it's in the afternoon, so.
So I'd encourage each and every one of you to go and represent us.
So yeah, that'll be a hearing to basically decide if the state's gonna just throw our ordinances out, which, I mean, if they didn't throw them ordinances out, they might as well just throw them all out.
Everything must be thrown out,
I mean,
because you have nothing to say no longer.
it seems a little ridiculous, they get to cherry pick the parts that they wanna take, and then the rest of the work they don't wanna do, then they let us do it, so.
And then granted permits and all, you know.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the PSC does, because I think they avoided this topic because they realized they were gonna deny that permit, and so I think that was like a 2 birds with 1 stone thing. They didn't wanna pick a fight with the counties, and they're like, well, we're gonna deny it anyway, so I think now that they don't get to sidestep that, it'll be interesting to see what they have to say, because I guess my opinion as a county commissioner and just for the counties as a whole, I mean, I think it really doesn't matter if it's about this pipeline or not. It's about, do we have the authority to say anything in our own counties? And I think that's what the reason, I mean, for us to show up and just basically dispute this is, and I know I've been in contact with the Association of Counties and told them that they better come to bat for us, because this, I mean, if they're not gonna do that, they might as well just disband too, because if we don't have the authority to, you know, say we're something like a pipeline that our people don't want near their homes, if we can tell them to stay away from our homes and they can tell us we don't have that authority, then I really don't know what we're doing here.
There's no reason as a commission alone.
Well, and I've said from the beginning too, I don't see how it's possible that an entity like the state can tell us we can evict someone from their home. We have that authority, but we don't have the authority to tell a pipeline company that they have to really ask for permission or stay away from someone's house. I don't feel like that's, I don't know, I don't feel like the PSC or anybody wants to rule on that, and so it's gonna be an interesting hearing, so.
Everybody should attend that.
I agree.
Honestly, everybody.
I plan on attending.
What is that?
The 21st, nobody's in the field no more. I think everybody should show face.
If you're not done combining by then,
No.
you might as well just leave it till spring.
Good, good.
Just pick it up. It's on a Thursday.
Are you gonna attend it, Gary?
Yeah, it is.
Are you gonna attend that?
Where is it at?
It's in Bismarck at the, what building? I've got it here on my phone.
Capital.
I'll send it to you.
December 21st at 2 PM. The only thing I would say is I believe the Pioneer Room's not
It's small.
the biggest room.
Get there early.
Right, so I mean, if you're gonna attend, it's probably gonna be packed.
Is Pioneer the room that we were there when they ruled and denied their permit?
I don't know, I wasn't there that day. I watched that online.
That was the Pioneer room, wasn't it?
That could be.
When you come in and you go to the east and you go down and around, it's the Pioneer.
There'll be
room.
plenty of signage, I'm sure, once you get into the Capitol there, they'll point.
They'll point it out.
They usually have signs that'll
But
point.
everybody should attend that.
Yes.
And they're encouraging, what's his name, Higgins, Elliott is just everybody show.
Well, the world's ran by those who show up, folks, so that's exactly right, so. Is there any more discussion on that? If not, we'll move on to the last item on old and unfinished business will be an update on the Whirliger fence. Joe, do you have any update?
I don't, I guess I assumed that, I thought Frank was maybe coming in and Francis would be here or something, so.
Have you,
As far as I know,
cause
it's,
you did have some conversations with the Whirligers, right? Like they were in the process of moving the fence or something, or attempting to, or had somebody hired or something?
yeah, I called him, I think that would have been Monday after it was due to be removed. And it wasn't completely removed, but they had plans to remove it that day or the next day.
Okay.
They had somebody else, I believe, retained to do that for them. And, I guess I haven't asked him if it's been removed.
I was over there. Francis had called me, so I went over Sunday and looked, and it's still not down.
It's not down. I guess
Is Leo Meyer taking his down to the east?
Not
That's
that-
staying.
Yeah, it's still there. I don't know if he's taking this down or not. I don't know if there was any problem there or not, you know? But the only thing with Frank's, it's just, you know, he's got, oh, Dad, were you over there, Craig? What did you think there?
Well, they moved it back behind the survey lines,
Yeah, but not around the top there.
bar on the top.
See, that's all gotta come down. I mean, it's, probably wouldn't really have to, but it's a court order, so we don't really have no choice in that. He's gotta take it down.
He did come in the office, last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in there, I can't even remember now. He asked me to go out there and look at it. I haven't had time to drive out there, I don't really know how to get out there, to be honest with you. So it's kind of a long ways out there, but, I just don't know what good that would do for me to go look at it, because I can't change the court order and.
We can't change, I looked at it,
To
but
me,
we can't
it's
change
kind of a
court.
waste of
It's
time.
insane. I drove out there and looked at it too, but
Well, it would-
it's impassable, period.
Well, I know, but it's not, now it's not, that's not the point anymore. Now the judge said it's gotta come down, so it's gotta come down. You know what I mean? And if it doesn't come down, I know what France is gonna do. It's gonna be a court case again.
Well, if it's not down, then we should look to hire somebody to bring it down, I guess.
And if Frank wants a variance to come around, then he should come in for a variance.
Well, I think the only way you could get anything done would be to close that section line, you'd have to follow that process, and obviously there's gonna be at least one person opposing that, maybe more, so.
And the way it looks to me there, if he went straight the way he was, if you were out there, I mean, he's still on the top edge of that.
No,
No.
that curves around and the, creek comes up into the roadway.
On the top edge, I don't think it would be too much.
It comes into it, I think, Donnie.
Yeah, you can't.
It comes in, we drove down there together.
Yeah, I was down there the other day too, so, but,
You can't.
Is this fence
That's
removal
what's
sorry. Is the fence removal something that our road department could handle now that most of it's down? I mean, if it's just that top portion, I don't know.
I would think they would have to.
I just don't know about hiring a third party and we don't even know, at least I don't even know if it's down yet or not. You said it's not.
It's not down, because I was down there Sunday. France, I called, he said it's still not down, so I went down and looked. And it's still, well, like you said, it's probably still goes straight, it comes up around.
It goes around the creek end.
Yeah, and then there's some that's not even fenced anymore, I don't know. There's
That
some
was all fenced, right?
There's wires missing there, so,
Where at?
on the,
That's
on the farthest to the east.
Well, I think the proper thing to
Whatever.
do is we're gonna have to send somebody out there to verify if the fence is off the right of way. I don't know if that, if anybody, if nobody has the tools qualified to do it, the only thing I can think of to do is you'd have to probably hire a surveyor. I mean, unless somebody feels confident enough to go out there and measure and make sure that it's at least 33 feet off, because that's what the court order says, so.
The stakes are still there, you can just go out and measure it.
Do they have it staked consistent enough that you can measure, like,
It's
you know, like around the
whole
creek and
way-
things like
all
that?
the way across it's staked.
Every couple 100 feet or something like that, or?
Well, then you can take a GPS.
The stakes are there.
Take a GPS.
Okay, I mean, if the stakes
the
are still
pins
there,
are-
then so we just need to find someone that's gonna verify to do it, whether it's a commissioner, road department employee, building inspector. Well, I'm just saying, we can argue about if the fence is on or off, we need to go out there and confirm that it's off, whether with tape measure and camera, and it's either off or it's on, and if it's on, it needs to get off, whether we hire someone, have the road department do it, I mean, we can discuss whether or not we think it's noble or not, but the court order says it has to be 33 feet off, so.
Are they gonna break that draw? Does Francis wanna break that and farm that
That's
in?
what I know, I doubt it.
Well, either way.
Or whatever.
We need to choose somebody to go out there and verify it, whether
Well,
it's.
all I'm saying is, he spent all that money now to get that off, and if it's gonna be on 25 feet here and 50 feet there, well, what's, and the court order says it's supposed to come off, so it's gotta come off.
Right, well, that's what I mean, so let's choose somebody to go out there and verify that it's off, whether that's a or county employee, county commissioner,
Sheriff.
doesn't matter.
Well,
Just choose somebody.
Maybe when Skylar comes in, he can go out, we can talk to him, maybe he can go out there tomorrow and take it down.
I mean, the task is to
Comply with what
figure,
they.
to figure out if it's on the right of way or not. If it's off the right of way, then it's settled. If it's on the right of way, it needs to get settled, so.
Yeah.
Whether.
In your
we
opinion,
have-
it's still on the right of way, so.
So it's.
So. Okay, well, we'll just
We'll
table
discuss
that
it.
till later in the meeting with Skylar and see if him and some of the guys wanna go out there and verify it or something and see if they could at least take the rest of the posts out if it's possible. And then if we decide it is on there, then, I mean, unless one of the commissioners is gonna go out and do it, my only suggestion would be you'd have a road employee or two go out with a skid loader or something,
You can't go down there.
pull it out or something.
You can't get down there with a skid.
Well, yeah,
They'll never get out.
Well, it got in. You're gonna have to get out. I don't care how it comes out. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you gotta use a spaceship. I mean,
Skid steer will never get down.
well, then they're gonna have to come out some other way. It doesn't really, I
Probably
mean,
take the excavator down
I
there.
mean,
Whatever.
I'm done talking about this discussion of whether or not it can or can't be done. It must be done, and it's going to get done, and it doesn't really matter how, because the courts, you tell the court you can't pay your fine because of this, or you can't do this because of that, they don't care. That's not, so it's gonna have to get done, however way it needs to get done, it's gonna get done, so. Okay, we'll, discuss it later on with the road guys and see if it's a possibility that they can entertain it, something, so. Moving on, Wayne Ely with the Vanguard complex.
Haley, by the way.
Ely,
Yeah. Morning, gentlemen.
I was gonna start calling you Wayne.
There you go.
That's actually,
Make things a little bit easier, right?
go ahead, Wayne.
Okay. So, yeah, again, the contracts is for the Vanguard, the appraisal system that's utilized for the assessment throughout the county. The contracts is due for both the, website and the modules that are a part of this. There are several different modules, sales comparison, ag, land, residential, things of that nature. I was working with a contact named Teresa Ellerby, and What I had noticed was that certain things were coming due at certain parts of the year, and then other modules would be due at another part of the year, and so sometimes we get 3 invoices in the year. We asked about just consolidating that so that everything that we have and utilize with Vanguard will come in at the same time. I said, yeah, we can absolutely do that. I asked them if they could set that up so that it would be due in June of this coming year, 24. Also asked them, well, they approached me about doing a extended contract. Instead of year by year, we could do a 5-year and lock in the price for that entire time period. So next year's wouldn't be more expensive, the year after that wouldn't be more expensive, so on and so forth. So by doing a 5-year contract, payments are due for the entire thing, and it would still be a yearly payment, but the price would be locked in as it currently is right now for all of our modules and our website maintenance. So those are the 2 contracts that are part of your guys' packets. They do require that it be signed by one of the commissioners as well in order to be approved. So that is what I have come to for today. If you would be interested in going into this 5-year deal model. Any reason why we have been utilizing Vanguard for the next 5 years? I mean, we've been using it for quite a few already. I don't know exactly how many years. I mean, it's been established well before I was around here.
If, from what I read, if we break the contract, we still gotta pay the fee.
That is what it appears to me as well. If we break that contract, then we would still be paying for it.
And what were we paying before? Do you know?
The only prices I have are going back to the 2023 pricing. And that comes out to absolutely everything comes in at $86.75.
How much?
$8,675. And this contract would lock in that price for the next 5 years. I assume the last time this was paid was either in December of last year. There were probably some portions of it that might have been paid in June of this year. This is based off of the information that I was given instead of the previous schedule. Right now, the ag building and the comparable search modules of Vanguard are set to expire 3 days ago.
So we're looking at,
So basically about $12,000 to sign a
Yeah.
5-year contract. Or am I looking at the wrong, or is that just storage capacity? That's not the actual license?
Right, the service contract for the assessment websites. That would be the payment schedule A on that first contract.
You said 86.
Oh, it's in the back, okay.
Yep.
That was like a storage lease or something, I think, so.
Yeah, that's part of the website.
Okay.
So
oh, so this back
contracts-
page is the one.
Yep,
44,000.
44,000.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, when I seen that one, I thought, oh, take that
That'd be-
away.
Yeah, you won't take this for
Yeah,
granted.
exactly.
Paid for a 5-year deal, though.
Yeah.
So what would that come to?
Well, at the bottom, there's about basically $86.75 a year, other than this first year, it has to be an additional.
Yeah, that's for the module. The other contract is for the website. That's that, Emmons, North Dakota Assessors.com website where the public can utilize, look up, and we'll find comparable sales searches, things of that nature.
Well, I mean, I guess the big thing about it is if you're, planning on using Vanguard for the foreseeable future, you might as well lock in at least a solid rate. That's, basically a discounted rate for 5 years, so I'm sure it's gonna go up every year. Everything's
Yeah, like that.
generally do so.
Yeah, that
I
was.
mean, you either pay an increased rate every year, just so you might back out, and if you paid for 10 years, you could have just been locking in every 5 years and at least trying to save something in between.
Right. I mean, this
You're
year
gonna
it's
see a
86,
substantial increase
next year it's
probably on-
9, the year after that it's 95, so on and so forth,
Right.
sure.
You'll see a substantial increase in year 6 probably, because you're paying the same rate for 5 years, and all of a sudden it's gonna be 12,000, but at least you save money than other 4 years, kind of softens the blow, I guess, in my opinion. I mean, I do it with my business, if I have things I know I'm gonna use for a long time, stock up on it while it's cheaper, well, lower, I should say,
Right,
cheaper.
yeah.
Not as expensive as the proper.
How did we do that before Vanguard came in?
Pardon?
How did we do that before Vanguard came in?
We probably had some kind of assessing software or something too, though, right? I mean,
I don't think so.
It was just a guessing deal kind of, right?
Right.
well, I wouldn't say a guessing thing, there was like a formulated system through the state or something, just probably wasn't as automated as with
But
Vanguard.
then we got way behind there, right? We got in
We
trouble.
weren't equalizing.
Huh?
We weren't equalizing very well, so we had Vanguard come in.
Well, the big deal with Vanguard back in those days was the rural counties had kind of a lack of assessments. I mean, they weren't getting everything assessed properly, because every county's like us, they have an office of one, and they're not, you know, some of the bigger counties have 5, 6 people in their equalization office, so they have literally someone who probably can go out and assess every day, where you have your one employee, and if they're sick or anything, or any stretch of downtime, you're not getting it all done the way it is. And because I know McIntosh, everybody kind of the same boat we were, they all took Vanguard, and then there was a big, because everybody was pretty shocked, because it was quite an adjustment, but that's because everybody was out of tolerance, basically. Nobody, I mean, Logan, McIntosh, Emmons, like all of us were. And then with Vanguard came a computer system that kind of streamlined a lot of the processes, right? I mean,
I think it's a good tool for the town.
Well, it's a computer module and it's based off of 7 states throughout the Midwest when it comes to, you know, like your ag, your residentials. They actually utilize what they call cost manuals that are comprised of information that they gather from contractors and stuff like that. And it is, you know, targeted toward the Midwest. It's not just a random thing. Of course, you do have to have somewhere to start, so that's why you reference the module. And this can, you know, like you said, it can automate everything. You can enter your information, sales are made and stuff like that, and it's already right there for you. It's like, okay, these lands are going, you know, this is the valuated rate for these, as opposed to having to go out and take a personal look at it. I mean, 9,720 parcels in the county is a lot for one person to try to keep track of.
exactly.
You know, if you don't have some kind of a software system, it's just not gonna get done. You'll fall behind, you'll get out of compliance, fall off on the sales ratio, and then you get a situation where the state comes in, like they did this past year, and say, hey, your guys' vacant commercial lots aren't close. You have to raise them all by 16% just to get into compliance. I believe they actually wanted to go higher, but if I remember right, Marlon, somebody else at the State Board of Equalization meeting was able to get them to, instead of bringing us to 100%, I believe it was 93, which is what we as a.
Yeah,
county-
Marcy and I went up to the Capitol and threatened them, that's what. we
Okay,
did.
there you go.
They listened, so. I don't think they really cared what we had to say, but
So,
it
yeah,
was pretty good. We went to the State Board of Equalization, and
But it helped, because they didn't make us go on it.
it did help. I think the fact that we showed up and said something just made some kind of an impact. I think it's just like anything else. I mean, if you show up and you make a case, you got a better chance than if you just
yeah.
hope they don't do something. So,
Right,
Right,
you
I
know,
mean,
my
that was,
brief time in this position, it's, you know, the impression I get is that if it ever comes into that and it falls down to the hands of the state, they're gonna bring you up to 100% every time, no questions asked. That's-
well, there's just kind of a zero tolerance policy with it, because you can't start chip picking and choosing things that you like.
Right.
That's kind of how it goes. I think the Vanguard system's in place because we found a long time ago that it was impossible to keep up with it. So I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't stick with it, and I think if we're gonna stick with it for any number of years, for the foreseeable future, you're not looking at other softwares, then I think locking into a
Still out of this one, and
Right. And Vanguard does kind of seem to be kind of the, I mean, preferred software by most counties. It's not like we're the only ones using Vanguard around here, so I think,
Well, there are other counties that are actually moved to. Logan wasn't using it for all of their stuff, and they're gonna begin using it as well.
right, so.
How long have we actually used them?
We started when,
2016 maybe, it
Well, I was
wasn't
gonna
that long
say,
ago.
it's gotta be about, I thought about 7 years, 6, 7 years, yeah, that's what I
I
thought,
think the
yeah,
letter of transmittal was dated 2016,
Had to be something like that.
that's what I thought.
but my understanding is that since that time, these contracts have come up on a yearly basis.
And having a new tax record that's just in training yet, this is so important for everybody. You have to approve this.
Well, I mean, the big thing is the question is whether or not we wanna go with a 5-year contract, or we just wanna do yearly, but if we don't have any plans on changing it in the foreseeable future, I don't see no reason why we wouldn't lock in a consistent.
They don't have no other, besides, 1 or 5,
They have either a 3 or a 5-year option.
oh, they do have a 3-year.
Yep.
Price is the same?
Probably the same right now.
We'll lock in a 3.
Well, that's not a bad idea either. I think it's a good idea to lock in more than a year if you have no plans of changing.
Right,
And maybe
right.
3 years
Oh,
is a
yeah.
little better, because in 3 years, you know, between your development, your skills, and maybe there's a different software by then we're not so locked into something.
Yeah, I had contacted Teresa about that and asked on, you know, if there were any options other than yearly or 5-year, and she did come back and say there is a 3-year option, but the 5-year
Okay,
option is a better deal for us.
Sure.
What exactly that all means.
Well, I think it'll guarantee you another 2 years at the same price, but I mean, if you decide you wanna change softwares in 3 years, then it isn't a better deal, then it's actually a way worse deal, so,
Right.
you know, I think if it's 3 years at the same price, that's maybe a little better
I
option.
can certainly shoot her an email and ask her to get me contracts for 3 years.
Okay. I don't know, feel just as comfortable with that as anything, I mean, it's not so long.
Do you need a motion for it?
Well, we
Well, I
could,
think we'll wait till Wayne brings back another proposal, I
Well,
suppose.
we'll have to get the
said the
contracts
price
going.
was the
I was gonna say, we could make a proposal, or a motion that if it's a 3 years, the same as a 5,
Sure.
you can go with it. Instead of waiting till, well, I
I'm
guess.
assuming nothing would really change except probably the endings essentially, I would imagine all these different fees and everything are all gonna be the same, so it's just gonna be a 3-year instead of a 5-year.
I think so.
I'm not sure.
I'd have to verify.
Right. Sure. You gotta at least renew the 1 year, like.
Well, they are prorating things and, you know, giving us until June, because I said I do want to consolidate everything, so it's all due at one time instead of, you know, throughout the year.
So we could probably-
Because otherwise, 2 of our modules have been shut off, would have been shut off.
So we could just table it till you bring a 3-year then, like the next.
I believe so. We'll see what, you know, Teresa has to say, and she did say, you know, try to get these back at the earliest convenience. If the earliest convenience isn't until January, then the earliest convenience isn't until January.
Well, I guess my opinion is that we could probably approve it with the condition that, you know, Wayne has the final say of it. And if you look, if there's some dramatic change to the contract or something, then I would bring it forward to us. But if it's the same contract with just different ending dates and the prices are the same and stuff, I mean, if you think it's good, I mean, I think we're all fine with it enough to probably make a motion.
Okay.
And then just make it contingent on your approval, and if there's something you see that's like, whoa, that's way different, then we can rediscuss.
Put the
that
brakes
one.
on
Okay,
it.
yeah, I can do that, but like, as I said, there is gonna be a county commissioner signature that's gonna be required on this one as well,
Sure.
so.
Well, I think
don't
if
know
that would-
mean a special meeting, or if we could.
No, I think if we make the motion and then make the contingent that it's approval on you, like we do with some of the building permits with Josh, if your final say is okay, and then as the chairman, I'll look it over, if everything's the same as this contract and you're fine with it and we made the motion, then we'll
Should be
just
a
sign
done
it,
deal.
take care of it. That way we don't have to wait another month for something that's probably the same as what we're looking at, so. So I guess if somebody would wanna make the motion for the, approval of a 3-year contract with Vanguard with the making the contingent on Wayne's final approval.
And then the conditions are the same as the 5-year contract.
Right.
Yeah, I'll make a motion
So,
to look at a 3-year contract, being it's the same as the 5-year contract.
so Commissioner Holm makes the motion to approve a 3-year contract with the contingencies that's the same as a 5-year contract and final approval by Wayne.
Yep,
We have a second to that motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Materi. Any more discussion? Also, I mean, I'll be looking over it again too, because
Yeah.
for me to sign it, I'll double check it, so. If there was anything really wrong with it, if it's not contingent to that, then we want, but if it's the same stuff, and that's what we're looking to accomplish, then we'll just get it taken care of, so. Any more discussion on that subject? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approval of contingencies.
Good, thank
Okay,
you. I
yeah,
will,
just, let me know when you got something and we'll take a look at it.
yes, I will get in touch with Teresa right away when I get back around.
It's good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Sheriff Sanders. You're up.
Gentlemen,
Morning.
on the agenda, I've got a few things on the agenda, but actually I have a lot, 7 items that have come up. Just to quick review and for informational purposes for you guys. One of the things on the agenda is the youth force attendant care contract. Did you guys get a chance to take a look at that? I can review what it is, I guess. That's just an annual. Yeah, it did, yeah.
I seen it.
That's an annual contract.
I was gonna say, we participate in that every year, right? But
Yeah, we've been previously, and it's an annual contract. Agreement, the cost is the same, $1,700 annually. What that is for attendant care for juveniles through the age of 10 to 17 that need a non-secure placement, temporary placement for delinquent acts. We've utilized that 7 times in the last couple of years, obviously runaways, other delinquent acts, where they're taken into custody, placed in that facility temporarily, usually 1 or 2 days, rather than being released to a family member that can't take custody or control of them at that time. We pay for that out of our annual jail budget every year. That's where that funds come from. So it's no addition to our budget at all. It's something we've been involved in for quite a few years already, so. They split that cost up between the counties that use that. I think Burley County pays $56,000 a year. We pay $1,700. Every county is kind of prorated on how much you use it and based on population and so forth, so. Any questions on that? Okay. Jail contracts. We did renew the jail contracts with Stetson County and Burley County. Obviously, Burley County, the Burley Morton County Detention Center in Bismarck is our primary jail that we utilize probably 99% of the time. Probably for the last at least 6-7 years, it's been $75 a day for housing an inmate. As of January 1st, that goes up to $100 a day. Stetson County is doing the same thing, $100 a day. But like I said, 99.9% of the time you use Burley County for that purpose. We didn't have to make any adjustments to our budget for 2024. Our budget should handle that increase again, but that is a sliding scale on how often you use that. We just don't know, going into it and so forth. So, any questions on that? Okay. Third thing that I want to talk about is ND PERS, Public Safety Plan. In my 2024 approved budget, I did budget for that, transitioning the employees of the Sheriff's Office into the Public Safety Plan. Currently, we are participating in the main standard PERS plan. And we have a Public Safety Plan that's been in place for a number of years. And the public safety is for foreign law enforcement officers and correctional officers. There's really no difference for myself or my staff transitioning into the public safety plan, other than the biggest difference are a couple of benefits that come to the difference between the standard and the public safety is there is a earlier retirement age of 50 versus 55, minimum age for retirement, and then there is a rule of 85 versus a rule of 90. What that is the purpose of that is to get people that you're not 75 years old still doing law enforcement and doing the things you are. That's the big thing. There's no financial gain for myself. There's no financial gain for my staff. The multiplier is the same. The biggest difference is there is a little bit of a contribution difference, how it broke down. It's about 18% versus 17, 16. Okay, about a 1.5% difference roughly is what it is. But the multiplier is the same for the employees. I'm still grandfathered in, as is Mark and Chris. We're in the old system yet. We're in the multiplier of 2 versus 1.75.
so you'll still be working when you're 75 yet?
No.
Other guys-
I dealt with a method.
Oh, okay, all right.
That gets old after a while. Patience ain't what it used to be. So anyway, There's two steps to that. There has to be a resolution by the county commission, and I've already spoken to Joe about drafting that resolution. They give us an example to do that, to go ahead with that. Then there is a employer contribution agreement, which, we can make available to you. And then there's an employee one form. And if approved today, then it probably wouldn't take effect till they're kind of thin mark, because what you've seen is with the change in PER that's occurred in the last year statewide, just about every law enforcement entity has jumped into, if they haven't already, are jumping into the public safety plan, because it is a retention and recruitment type tool for law enforcement. Okay, that group of retirees is a smaller group than the standard group, so that'll probably be dealt with at the next legislative session possibly. There was a lot of changes that occurred to that this year in the police. So we're looking to transition into the public safety program, as did all our neighbors to the east. And I don't know of anybody that hasn't yet for 2024 this year, so we're looking to do that. So Joe will probably have that resolution later today, sometime, right?
Yeah, I think it's almost done.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. They give you an example of resolution that we're willing to go into this whole thing as a board, for the officers and, my staff to go into that.
So essentially, you guys would be going into kind of a specialized part of the PERS. And
Yeah.
the resolution is for us to agree to pay any additional cost, like any, like.
To enter into the public
The
safety.
employer side, if they want us to match X amount of
Yeah,
percent, or something, which is probably gonna be
yeah.
small, so.
Yeah, PERS has a number of requirements. Fire Patrol has their own plan, each guy has their own plan, public safety has their own, judges have their own. Then you have the standard plan, which is pretty much for local enforcement. Yeah, this is just one other part of the PERS. Any questions on that, I guess? If you need some additional, here's the difference between the public safety plan and standard plan here, what the difference is. It's just the one sheet that does a comparison. What's the difference between the two? It's really pretty for the most part. The biggest thing is the rule of 85 versus 90 and the early retirement age of 50 versus 55. That's the main thing. The multiplier is the same. So.
I'll get into the commissions.
Yeah. Okay, next to that is another item on the agenda for me is the courthouse and road department, video security systems. It's been a headache. We've been working on a grant, federal grant for updating our video security systems here at the courthouse. Our system here at the courthouse went down months ago, almost a year ago. Hard drive software issues, software updates. We own that system. We own the hard drive, the software, the camera systems, everything. Well, like everything else, everything's got to be updated. They wanted $10,000 just for the software update, and they knew hard drives and everything else. So we were able to find a federal grant between Mary's office and my office. We had to bid this thing out 3 times. We could not get companies to bid this thing out. Nobody wants to come down. That's the hard thing. We're finding that out with any contractors and so forth. They got enough work in this area. Federal guidelines, it had to have at least 3 contractors bids. We had a hard time doing it. I think we bid this thing out 3 times before we got enough. And Beck Communications was awarded the grant. One of the things that I wanted to be very particular on was service after the sale. Everybody's quick to sell you something.
Oh, yeah.
They don't always want to show up and fix it when things are bad. The other thing is Beck Communication system is web-based, so we own the camera systems, that's it. If it's web-based, any software issues is their problem, any hardware issues for drives and stuff is their issue, firmware stuff is their issue. We just pay for basically the cloud storage, okay? So the other thing is at the courthouse, we're gonna maintain the same field of views that we have in the courthouse, inside, outside, but less cameras. Same thing at the county shops, Stratford and Lenton, same kind of deal. They do more with newer cameras and so forth. Part of the other thing for this federal grant was the cameras had to be American made. No more Chinese, they will not allow Chinese manufacturers just because the Chinese are putting software programs into the camera systems and so forth, so they have to be American-made stuff, which is a good thing. That was another thing, a lot of the guys are selling the Chinese camera systems or hardware, and they weren't able to participate in the bid process. So we were approved for that. Sometime in January, Beck will come through and start replacing the camera systems in the courthouse and in the county shops in Strasburg and Lytton. And again, it's web-based, we can access it on our phones, on our laptops, and so forth. It's what a lot of people are using right now. It's all web-based. It's pretty good stuff. And then the grant covers not only the hardware that we have to purchase the camera systems, but also covers the first year of any data storage issues for 2024. So we don't need to look at anything budgeting-wise for security systems till 2025, covered through 24. So hopefully here next month, that stuff will start happening there. Any questions on that? Okay, another thing I want to talk about annual leave. Our policy for the county is, they used to use the anniversary date of the employee as their start end date for annual leave and stuff. Now it's gone to an annual thing of January 1st, which is good. It's easier to keep that simplified when you've got more than one employee. Policy is that they can't carry over more than 200 hours from year to year. If you go past January 1st and you have in excess of 200 hours, you lose it. Use it or lose it. I've got 2 employees with excess of 200 hours simply because we haven't been able to take that vacation time because we've been short-staffed. What I'm asking is to allow me some temporary leeway on that, and once we get up and running full staff, I'll have those guys take that time off. But Mark right now is at 279 hours and Chris is at 229. So what I'm asking is for allow me to carry that over past January 1st. And once the training part is done on the new guys, hopefully they'll have that off the books before the summer.
You have 2 new guys.
I hired a new deputy November 1st. You met him last month.
Yep.
And as of yesterday, I did give a verbal conditional offer of employment to a second person, and they agreed verbally. I'm drafting a written conditional offer of employment with conditions, certain conditions that have to be met prior to employee and so forth. And their tentative start date will be January 1st.
Okay.
So they graduate, she graduates December 14th from the Lake Region Law Enforcement program there. Originally from Valley City, and comes highly recommended by the director and people I know in law enforcement. So it's her first job, and I think she's got the right attitude, and I think she'll be a good fit. I really do.
Okay.
So tentatively, January 1st. Housing's a big I'd like to get somebody stationed back up in Hazelton again, like I have in the past, but housing that's an issue. That's an issue.
In Hazelton.
In Hazelton, yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
You got one up there now, don't you?
No, Damien left.
Oh, he left? Oh, okay.
Oh geez, 9 months ago?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
didn't
you
know.
live behind my shop, I lost my free security guard.
yeah, right? So, yeah.
Nice having the deputy live right behind your shop.
Yeah,
That was-
well, you know, I've always had deputies in the outlying communities for a couple of reasons. Number one, they become part of that community, involved in that community. People want to get to know their officers, not only in a professional manner, but also on a personal side of it too. There's that thing there. Pretty soon, I mean, and any of my guys can tell you that's exactly what happens, you know. Pretty soon, it takes a while to melt into that community, get involved in different programs, attending school functions or whatever it may be. But people see you outside the job versus out of working, and it works pretty good. But housing is a big issue in Hazelton. There just isn't a whole lot of availability up there right now, so. Yeah. So anyway, on the annual leave, again, now my question is to let those guys carry it over temporarily until I get everybody up and trained and staffed, and then they can take some extended time off and burn that extra hours off anyway.
Well, we've traditionally done it for the road department when it's been bad winters and shorthanded. I mean, we were obviously shorthanded this summer with our deputies, so.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those exigent circumstances that fall in that area.
I mean, it doesn't seem like you guys are overly, but it's not like they're at 400 hours or something.
No,
So,
no,
I mean, it's.
exactly, so,
As long as they get it used up,
what's that?
as long as they get it used up. before-
Yeah, absolutely. Get it burned up, prior to this summer anyway, this spring.
They're probably dying to take a break, so.
Well, you know,
I don't think it's gonna be that
You've
far.
got that vacation time for a while, and the thing is that with Mark and Chris has been here long enough, they're earning, you know, they're at a level now because of their longevity, where they're earning more.
It's getting tougher to burn off. Right?
Exactly. The other thing I want to talk to you about is that back to blue grant, which is on the agenda. Does everybody understand what that is and how that all comes about? Back to blue grant was something that this past legislative session did. And they allocated statewide, I think, $3.5 million for this grant. And of that 3.5 million, 750,000 was to be specifically allocated for agencies with less than 10 officers. You know, you've got Fargo that is, you know, 225, Bismarck 175 or whatever it is, and so on and so forth. So they wanted to spread this out and make sure that even smaller entities got this. That grant can be used for 3 specific things: hiring bonuses, retention bonuses, or educational tuitional type payments. You know, if somebody wanted to go back and get their associate's degree in something, you could pay a portion of that tuition. The state has a program for law enforcement and public safety where they will waive 25% of your tuition at a state university if you're in public safety and so forth. So this could be used for those 3 things, and those 3 things are at the discretion of the sheriff. I think in your packet, or I think I even mailed it out to you, kind of the bill and what it all was. So what I have decided, what's been allocated for the sheriff's office here is $11,538. $11,538, and I decided to split that equally amongst everybody, and it's also open to correctional officers, which includes Christie. So everybody will get a $1,923 bonus. What I'm going to do for my new staff that came on board, Sean and Talon is her name, is as a hiring bonus. They will get half when they start their job description, and then at the end of their probationary period, and at a 1-year probationary period, they get the other half.
Okay.
Okay, because at the end of 6 months, they got a favorable review in order to get to 100% of their base salary. But if they don't make that first 6 months of probationary status, then they don't get bumped up to 100%. And if they don't make their 1-year probationary period, they don't get the other half.
Okay.
So there's an incentive to do
Get it
that.
done.
So half when they begin and half when they finish their 1-year probationary status. Okay, any questions on that?
No, that seems like a perfectly good.
I think that's all I got.
It's a good little bonus incentive.
What's
That's a
that?
good little bonus incentive.
Yeah, you know, the way they did that was kind of skewed a little bit, because when they called and asked how many employees you got, even though I was short two staff members, they didn't care, even if you budgeted, how many do you have today? Well, I said, well, that's not right, because
Might get 2
you're
more
down
next week.
Well, that's just how they did it, so, but in any case. Other than that, there's another grant, I know they're working on the door grant for the courthouse. Just sent out bids on that, that's to replace some of the exterior doors, to have new key fobs put in, electronic lock, and so forth. Comstock Construction is going to bid that also. They said they're interested. Again, one of the biggest problems we got is just getting people to bid this stuff out in these areas. They
They
just,
don't want to do it.
they don't want to monkey with it, you know, and I get it, to standing, it is frustrating, but. So they indicated they will bid that out, the project they're already, which actually maybe benefit us, because it's just hand in hand. Whether they do it directly or they subcontract it out, either way. They indicated they intended to bid that out. The engineer did a walkthrough concerning the renovation project for the courthouse here about 2 weeks ago. I was not able to attend that walkthrough with the engineers. There was some issues the engineer had with the electrical panels in the courthouse. Apparently the name brand and the model that they're currently installing here, there is a class action federal lawsuit about some safety issues about those.
Oh, that's
They
exciting.
recommend
Yeah.
that they be addressed somewhere in the future.
Good.
You know,
Yeah,
obviously, yeah.
Something that's probably 40, 50 years old.
I think it's something burned out from the get too.
Well, exactly.
So they're recommending obviously those panels be updated somewhere in the future. And I know the electrical system in the auditorium, that is part of that whole project down there, but there's also electrical panels that aren't included. I think one's in the hallway outside the sheriff's office, there's another one maybe down by the auditor's office, somewhere down there, another panel and so forth. But they did a walkthrough and, brainstorming this month, and I'm expecting sometime in January, hopefully we'll get some boots on the ground and start the process.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the issues that has come up is the HVAC system for the auditorium, heating and air, is ideally we wanted to try and put that unit up on the rooftop. Engineers, when they came through and looked at everything, they said, you know, it's not gonna support the weight of that unit up there. So they're looking at, basically on the ground. So I and Craig were kind of walking around, and probably the most ideal place for that unit, they need about a 10 by 10
Building?
footprint.
Okay.
For that unit to sit on. And where the dumpster is, kind of outside my office now, where the siren is, would probably be the most ideal location for that. It's out of the way, there's already a concrete pad there.
Put in some posts so nobody hits it.
Yeah, you should probably find a different place for that dumpster.
See, that should be a good deal, shouldn't it? Because that's dug in, that's below the surface, that
What's that?
building. I mean, we're down in the ground, that building, that auditorium, is it not?
Yeah, to
It's
a
like
certain
the
degree.
school up at Lip-
You know, the ductwork
Gym,
would be
the
right
old
up
school.
above the false ceiling
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
They
yeah.
need to, you know, and all that, but yeah. I'd say ideally we wanted, if we would have liked to have it on the rooftop, but they said the structure won't support that kind of weight.
Is that a flat roof?
There is a slight slope, I've never been on it, but according to Craig, on the auditorium, there is a very slight slope.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but it is P-rock and so forth, yeah. I think they just replaced some of that up there this year, this fall, I think, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll have to be somewhere on the ground, and I think
Okay.
we're gonna probably end up over in that corner of the auditorium where that dumpster now is,
Okay.
more than likely, anyway. Probably have to just try a new place for that dumpster and so forth, so.
Good.
Okay, that's what I know.
One other quick thing, you had sent an email out about a courthouse security meeting or the courtroom security meeting?
You know, we had an issue come up in my office that I had to address, so I couldn't be there for that yesterday. I was
They
gonna-
did have the meeting though.
Yeah, it was Zoom apparently. 4
Oh.
o'clock I got called out somewhere on something, but, I was gonna give, the court administrator's office a call today and follow up on that. Cause I had some recommendations on that document, just minor stuff.
Okay. Okay, that was the only other thing would be is, we'll entertain a motion to, allow Sheriff Sanders to extend the vacation time for his deputies.
I'll make a motion on that.
Motion by Commissioner Holm to extend the,
I'll second it.
seconded by Commissioner Berry, to, basically allow you guys to hold their vacation and burn it off
Yeah.
this next year, so.
Yeah, I don't like to have that much on the books neither for those guys, but I think that we try and get it off the books.
I think it's the right way to do it instead of punishing the guys who are working extra hard, so.
You know,
Is
by
that
the
a
time-
problem, all this vacation time? Should we shorten the vacation?
Yeah.
As to where it's not a problem to burn?
I don't think you want to go there.
Well,
You know,
if you wanna
because-
go into the discussion for a second, I'll just say this, and I brought this up since I've been county commissioner. I worked at places where you still had a vacation benefit based on your seniority, whatever you wanna call it, your years of service. But it was a set amount, you got it January 1st, and you had to burn it by December 31st, and that was it. There was some carryover, but it was specific, like, you just got 80 hours, or 120, or whatever it was, and then you used it or lost it, like, once you hit 5 years, you were allowed to carry like 1 week over, but your max bank, if you wanna call it, was like 3 weeks or 4. So the max you could have was like 7 weeks of vacation, like, so no matter how long you were here, and then at least it was defined and there wasn't this accrual process and this, you know what, because the other thing too where I worked at is that defined amount could get paid out almost
Like
like a
I said,
bonus then. And you
I wouldn't like
basically
what it was.
settled up with your vacation every year, like you didn't have
Exactly.
this bank of vacation that once you retired, you got paid out. No, it was like,
I
you
know.
get 5 weeks this year, you have to burn 2 and you can get paid out 3 at
Paid
the end
out,
of the year.
yeah.
If you're the kind of person that didn't take vacation, you got yourself a 3-week bonus, which got taxed the crap out of because it was like a bonus, so it got 38%. But at least it was like a bill. You're settling out every year, everybody's paid out. And that is something I've advocated for. Obviously, we're a part of a governmental system. This is the governmental system way to do it, and that's fine and dandy, but you run into these problems where you have this handbook delegated accrual process, and it gets to be kind of a pain, because if we would go into a bad winter again, we'd have the same problem with the top tier road department guys, because they accrue this time as fast as they burn it. You're running into the same issue now. The new people don't have a problem. They don't accrue vacation worth of crap compared to the older people, so, and generally the younger generation burns their vacation a little faster. But you get these senior type employees that are earning major vacation, well, they gotta take 2-3 weeks off a year, otherwise you're running into an accrual problem.
So that's something we can't
I'm not
change.
saying we can't do it, it's just we have to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit, and there's probably some rules as a part of the PERS, cause it's all linked to, I mean, everything's kind of, if you change a vacation policy, you might have to change another benefit to the salary, like that's why it's always never been touched.
Oh, 'cause
I've
I know
always
other
advocated
companies
a little
do,
more
yeah.
cut and dried,
Right.
private sector type vacation, where it's like, this is what you're owed at the end of the year, do you want it in a check or you lose it? Okay, well, how do we
You know, the one thing you want to avoid, which has happened in the past a couple of times, is have when an employee doesn't leave and they've been here for a number of years, they walk in and they got, 700 hours of vacation books and.
Right.
You gotta
Oh,
pay
yeah,
it out,
you
don't
go-
want-
yeah.
you
That's
want-
what I'm saying, even for budgetary purposes, you would know in your mind how much vacation you're paying out every year per employee. They're either taking that time, or it's gonna be an extra little bonus for themselves. And that's the incentive for the folks that don't take vacation, that the kinds that you have to kick them out the door to take their vacation. Okay, well, you wanna be that person that takes that little 2-week bonus at the end of the year, then be my guest, but you have to burn 80 hours,
Yeah.
but.
Well, it was a deal
Anyway.
where if, you did, some companies, they paid it at the end of the year if you didn't use it.
Right.
Instead of letting it accumulate.
And that's always kind of been the issue now, is now you said you have a shorthanded year, even like now, I don't even think, I think we'll just give you the whole year, and the reason why I say that is because you're fully staffed now, then all of a sudden, someone gets sick, and now you're shorthanded again, well, now we have this timeline, you gotta burn your guys up by July 4th. Now you're-
Period, you won't be walking.
Exactly.
And there's always that possibility somebody doesn't make probation.
Exactly. So, I mean, even there,
Same thing with Kalen. Kalen doesn't have any experience other than her education, but there's a learning curve. So we don't let them leave or do anything on their own for 2 months minimum. So she's gotta be with somebody at all.
It's not like-
You don't start January 1st and say, here, go to work.
then as soon as they leave, you tell Mark he can take off for 3 weeks, right? Like, it just don't work like that. So I think as a part of the motion, we should just give you the entire year. I think that's just the smartest way you think your goal and intention should be to get it burned up ASAP.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think put a time limit on it would probably be very smart, because you could run into a circumstance. Then you're coming in June asking us to extend it again, and it just seems like.
Well, June, July gets to be our busy month.
Exactly, so it's hard to burn up time when you're gonna be using people on the weekends for parties and
Oh, yeah,
4th of July, quasi.
Yeah.
Days.
You're gonna have to burn it up before summer or probably after.
Or after,
Yeah, So,
yeah.
so I'd say the motion and second to allow you to, extend the vacation time.
Yeah.
No time
Right,
limit
give
right
you
now.
till December 31st of.
Well, we'll get that back in check though, prior to the end of the year.
Right, I mean, the intention should be to do that, but I think it'd be smart to just give you the year. So there's a motion and a second, any more discussion on it? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Anything else from my office or
I
no?
don't believe so.
Okay, we're good, thank you.
All right, I know we're late, but extension.
Can't wait, we just come up here, okay.
The whole team of us.
Yeah. Have you guys all met Dina
I
before?
believe so.
Erin has. for sure.
Yeah.
Dina Kemet is our district director, we're in
Kemet?
Central District for
Kemet,
Emmons.
yeah.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you all too, and thank you for letting us have a little time this morning. And I'm gonna defer right over and let Emily talk first.
All right, so the main reason that we're here today is Marlis, I believe, had sent an email out to all of you with my resignation letter. So I am resigning. My last day will be December 18th. So I wanted to come up here and just kind of let you guys know officially that I was leaving. This will be my last commissioners meeting with you all, sad to say, but.
What if we don't accept your resignation?
That's actually up to me.
That's up to me. I know you all have loved seeing the programming that I've done over the last 4.5 years, but I'm taking the opportunity to be home with my family, my growing family, and so being on our also operation full time. So that's really the reason that I'm resigning. And from here, I just want to also let you know we have taken care of the big things in my leave of absence. So pesticide training dates have been set. We have neighboring agents that are willing to help facilitate those. And so some of those big obligatory things that need to happen are still going to happen in my absence.
I just have to ask, because I just thought of it, commodity elections.
Yeah, that too.
That you got that.
Yep, that's all figured out too. So I'll kind of transition.
Okay, and I'm gonna just ask if you have anything you'd like to add about the ins and outs of what's happening in the office upon her departure on the 18th. Last day is the 18th. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we'll work through it. Ashley and I have started kind of checking our lists and things of stuff that needs to get done and whatnot. But yeah, we'll work through it. We've done it before. So hopefully it's not a very long period of time and we have somebody on staff before.
It's a good segue, thank you. So that's where I come in. I'm here to seek formal action from the commission to enter again into a partnership where we have our base policy that we follow when we hire extension agents, and I don't know how familiar all of you are with how that process works. Are you familiar at all? Okay, I did bring along some copies in case you'd like to read it later or ask, I can describe it and you can go and refer to this after the meeting if you want. Actually, we'll just give that if you wouldn't mind. The base policy that we have is NDSU extension and the North Dakota Association of Counties have agreed upon. When we hire an extension agent, the county agrees to 50% of the salary, and NDSU pays 50% of the salary, and we pay all fringe benefits, which are about $24,000-$25,000 in value, as you're well aware. That is how we remain the employer of record. We do that for reasons, but mainly because our NDSU extension agents, we need them to be covered by NDSU insurance. And then it gives them all the access to the university, right? So the county, as you'll see, that base policy is responsible for support of the office. And you can speak to that. You have support staff, you have supplies, you have, in some cases, it's rent, it's your travel line. So their budget has already been approved. So going forward, what I seek is, yes, I would need you to take action to say, we want to move forward so that I can open this position, advertise, and hopefully quickly fill the A&R position. So ask away if you have any questions.
You got anybody in mind?
Well, I don't. We haven't known a real that if it's going to be leaving. I would love to say that we're filling jobs really quickly. I'm sure you hear this from every department that you work with. There just aren't a lot of people out there to be hired. December, NDSU has graduation, and so we'll get this out there just as quickly as we can and hope that there will be some of the students even coming out of college that will hopefully be looking. I kind of rely on local folks to put the word out locally, but we do advertise through Indeed, and we have a platform through NDSU. The notice goes to our the college department heads, so they're aware they have students that are looking. We'll do our darndest.
And locally, once all materials are ready, we'll come
Oh, definitely.
in contact. And I'm certainly, I can give you anything you need to, if there's people that you think might be viable candidates. To share the information, we'll try to disseminate that.
So once you approve, and maybe I should let you guys do that first before I talk next steps, would you rather to take your action?
Well, I guess I'll entertain a motion to enter into a partnership with NDSU to hire out the Ag and Natural Resource Extension agent. Motion made by Commissioner Everly, or second on that? Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on the partnership to hire Ag and Natural Resource Extension agent for the county and NDSU? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Partnership approved.
Thank you very much, commissioners. And then the next step would be that I typically work with who the portfolio holder is, and I think you've been, Chairman, you have been part of
Another job. I can't wait.
Can't wait. Exciting,
No,
but
yes.
I would ask if you would not want to be on the committee to work with me in the hiring process, because we are partners. So I would like a representative from your group to serve with me as we go through the hiring process. If not you,
Anybody want to participate?
now's a good time. It's a good learning opportunity, I will tell you that.
I mean, I'm fine with doing it, so it's not a
Okay.
problem. Unless somebody else wants to take this opportunity, I would not rob you of the opportunity to grow in your
No,
experience as
just,
a county commissioner.
yeah,
That's fine.
it's
What's
a
that?
good way to learn.
Well, I think the big thing is there, well, yeah, if you want to help, I guess, whatever, you and me can team up, one of us be able to attend the meetings or.
I usually seek 2 to 3 individuals from the county wide
Okay.
to represent like the ag and natural resources side of things and even potentially 4-H. So sometimes I have commissioners who say, I'm part of sure, so I will represent that piece of it.
There's your
And
commissioner right there.
then that's a perfect fit. I actually have something like that going on in a different county right now. So if you would be interested, I would appreciate that. And it's from the agriculture side of things and commission. And I will be in touch with both of you.
Sure.
And I will work with these fine folks to identify somebody who maybe would represent our 4-H.
I have a couple people in mind already for some of those.
Okay, so then we'll put the committee in place, and like I said, I already tentatively started the paperwork last night because I was hopeful that we would move forward, and I have to be gone a couple days, so I'm hoping by the end of the week I'll have this in our system and it goes through its 6 signatures all the way to the chancellor, and then if it gets approved, we open it up. You guys will be notified as things move forward.
Sure.
And I apologize, I have to be excused, I have a program. So,
Yeah.
Thanks, Keisha.
See there. I just want to give you my assurance that we are going to be looking for someone to do a wonderful job here. We're not the only county that has an opening, but we are working very diligently to fill positions across the state. So I appreciate your partnership with us on this, and I wanted to publicly say thank you to Emily for doing a good job. I have to admit that I don't have a lot of stress over at Emmons County, which is really nice. I have 18 counties and this one does not keep me working, so I like to keep it that way.
well, thank you, Dina. Thank you very much.
And thank you to all of you commissioners. It's been great to get to know you. I won't be a stranger, obviously. I just have one county over where I live, and a lot of you know where I hang my hat, and my husband's still an extension too.
Where do you guys live, in Braddock?
No, we're Kintyre, so the St. Boniface Cemetery out there, we're
Okay.
just kitty corner from it.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Yes, if
yeah, if you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah, I like that I have a husband,
Yes.
over in Napoleon, so it's a family affair.
Kintyre address with a Napoleon school district to get your mail from Sterling and you know.
Actually, no, comes from Napoleon.
You kind of live in that no man's land though, where you have several addresses almost, like you're technically.
Shorter. Yeah. But it's okay. Trying to keep you guys on time.
Okay.
But thanks, Emily, and I know that the girl you will be seeing her at 4-H, so you'll see her as a 4-H volunteer, I'm sure of that.
Thank you,
I'd like
Emily.
to thank you for all you did. You
Thank
did a
you.
good job.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything, Emily, appreciate it.
All right, thank you, guys.
Emily Lear.
Yes.
See, I got it right at the end.
And if you, I'll be in touch with the two of you, but anybody else, if you have any questions after looking at the information, please do reach out to me. My cell phone number, they can give it to you in the office, and I'm happy to visit with anyone at any time.
Thank you for coming in, Dan. Yep. I think what we'll do is we'll bump the establish of the precinct boundaries, just so we can kind of stay on track a little bit, and we'll do that first reading, that way we can, get to Jason yet, so we're still sort of on time, so. We can move the establishment of the precinct boundaries and designate polling places for the 2024 primary until probably after Jason's here and before Skylar. It shouldn't take too long, I would imagine with that, but we'll just bump it so we can go to Joe. So Joe, we want to do the first reading of the floodplain management ordinance.
So the, FEMA came out with new maps, as you guys probably know. And because of that, there's neat calculations, I suppose, for where buildings can be and how they have to be constructed. They require that all local, subdivisions pass a new ordinance that reflects their map being included in it. And so I reached out to the State Water Commission to see if they would have a copy of a model ordinance for this for this new, floodplain management ordinance. And this is what they sent me essentially. It's, verbatim. The only changes that I made to it were to add in Emmons County's name instead of the political subdivision, to make it our, ordinance, I suppose. We have to have it in place before the effective date, February 22, 2024, or anyone who lives within your zoning, jurisdiction and has floodplain or flood insurance will lose that insurance. So, we have a first reading today, and then, we'll have another reading at the next meeting. If there's any changes, we can make changes at the next meeting, between meetings today. I would just caution on changes that once it's, that they won't tell us whether or not they're approved changes. So the state and FEMA has to approve the ordinance and verify that it falls in line with the requirements. So if they do make any changes, we kind of run the risk of maybe not complying with their requirements, so.
I mean, really, the basis of this though, or if you're gonna talk about the concentration of the flood insurance program, it's probably 95% Lincoln, huh?
Yeah,
I would say that in the sense that the city of Lincoln probably has as much or more to do with it than us. Like, what's they're beginning this process, they've done their first reading and they're reviewing it.
Yeah.
we did the first reading last night in Linton. It's the exact same document, except for, Linton did take a accessory structure definition from Bismarck's ordinance and then add in, I think page 15 maybe it is. Yeah, they basically added in that those accessory structures are 600 square feet or less, so a 20 by 30 building or smaller essentially would not necessarily need to have the dry floodproofing. They could use wet floodproofing, which means that if you use these pre-engineered flood vents, you can build these smaller structures with those flood vents in place so that water will flow through the building if there's a flood event. And then there's some additional restrictions, whereas utilities, electrical, all that stuff would still have to be over that 2 feet above base flood elevation, but below it, you could actually let water go through. And there are some structures in Linton that are like that right now.
in the floodplain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for instance, I think that Mertz garage, that has pre-engineered flood vent or flood vents,
Okay.
at the bottom of the structure, so.
And essentially, the purpose for this whole deal is that they've created the flood map. If Lincoln or Emmons County wants to participate in the flood insurance program, we have to participate by these rules, so.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have to participate,
Yeah.
then we wouldn't qualify for national flood insurance qualification for basically anybody in our jurisdiction.
And then, you know, people with existing mortgages would obviously be impacted by that, because most of the mortgages, if not all, within the floodplain require flood insurance, so.
Exactly.
And that's really the people we're looking at, and as far as I know, that it might not include anybody in the outside of Linton's zoning, because Linton has, a half-mile ETA that they're exercising, that this falls under for their, floodplain.
Essentially, once you get out right past the golf course, there's really not a lot of residences impacted by the, I mean,
Yeah.
from the maps I've seen, basically, if you wanna just be the cut and dried of it, it's Old Town in the south part of Lane.
Is that why they cleaned out that drainage ditch to be in compliance too?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why they're maintaining it as well.
That's why
too,
they-
now.
Right.
Right, yeah, I mean,
That's
it's,
the water board also, right?
well, some of the, see, that's where, like, when I was on the water board too, there's a jurisdictional gray area between the county water board and the city of Linton, because they exercise their ETA, so they work together on it essentially to a point, but the city of Linton is kind of spearheading a lot of it, because I believe in a lot of these meetings and these documents, the city of Linton carries a lot of weight with them, because that's where, I mean, if you have a list of 100 names that were affected where flood insurance would be, and 95 of them would probably be in the city of Linton's jurisdiction, and I mean, it's pretty close, right? I mean, there's probably a handful of them outside of the ETA maybe, and I don't even know if they participate in flood insurance or not.
Even
so-
if you think of like the Kramer residence by the golf course, that still falls under the city zoning because
Right.
of
Okay.
that.
How about like Leroy Material out there?
Well, see, some of them, I don't know if they're impacted by it, because it's all about the 100-year and 500-year floodplain and all those, and if you don't fall inside those areas, you can't even get flood insurance if you wanted it, if you're not inside of those boundary lines, so. As for some of them folks, maybe have the possibility of flooding, but they wouldn't even qualify for flood insurance, because they're so far out there, it would take an event that they're not even basically planning for to do it, so that's where. I mean, some of those names might be on that, you know, if they participated, then that's where they would fall under our jurisdiction with that, and that's why our participation in this is still important, because it might only be 5 names, but it's 5 names and possibly 5 mortgages, but a majority of this is the city of Linton, so I'm not passing the buck, I'm just saying that their approval or disapproval of an ordinance would probably be more important than ours, just for the fact that they're
Right.
dealing with way more structures than we are, so.
Exactly.
They talked about it this morning, the coffee shop, about the city looking at this.
Also, the city, because I believe Sharon is their floodplain manager.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming she's, Sharon Dangula. So I'm assuming she's looking at it pretty good, and then of course the water board would be our county, but our chairman of the board typically is the floodplain manager for the county, so I'm assuming the water board's already got a copy of this too, and they're probably looking over it, so, I mean, I don't really have a ton of input on it, but, I'll look through it. But we need to follow through the process of, multiple readings in a 60 or 90 day. Is it 90 days that it's in now, because it goes to February? I think that's when it's. I thought it said 90, yep, there's a 90-day appeal period that is initiated through this, so. I don't know when the deadline was on that specifically, if that was from August 22nd when they initiated that, or.
So you're talking about the maps themselves?
Well, I'm just saying, because there is an appeal process where people can come in and appeal, like, whether or not, you know, I mean, good luck appealing it, but.
I was just gonna say.
I mean, it's gonna be pretty difficult, but, more so maybe the ordinance part, if there's certain things they wanna try and exclude, but I mean, even that's gonna be pretty difficult, I mean, it's, so.
Yeah, it says FEMA did not receive any appeals.
You know, that 90-day period might have passed already, so. Okay, anything else on that, Joe?
I don't think so.
Well, we've initially conducted the first reading. If anybody wants any documentation, this is all public and available at the courthouse. Either through Marcy's office, the water board, Joe's office, state's attorney, somebody should get you those documents if you're interested in them. So. Well, it's 10:30, we can probably do that establishment of precincts.
If you want.
I think that should be pretty fast. So next would be the establishment of precinct boundaries and designate polling places for the 2024 primary and general elections. Pretty much the same as always, not?
So we have the 5 districts, it's always followed with 5. Ballots kept, 5 districts, we follow 5 precincts, and the 3 polling places. That's how we've done it in the past. The century code says that the commissioners have to establish precincts. So you guys could go with more precincts if you wanted to. But by doing that,
You increase the cost.
you increase, I would have to have more ballot styles.
Yeah.
That way, because right now, the primary election, I already have 12 ballot styles because of the city elections I have on the ballots. So by you establishing more precincts with ballot styles.
What you mean by precincts is that whether or not you live in that precinct, you get a certain ballot. That's what you're saying, right? So, I mean.
And then the polling places, what I've done over the years is only redistrict it. You have some people that just live east of here so many miles, and they're in precinct 4 now, or people out west are in precinct 5 now. And it used to be where you had to go to your polling place to vote. So like every polling place would have certain precincts. So what I've done over the years is I've just changed it to all voting centers. So all 3 polling places are voting centers where you can go to any place, any polling place and vote.
So.
And then we have the poll pads too, so as you would go to one polling place, you couldn't go into another polling place and try to vote again, because it would show that.
The question would be is, do we need as many ballots? Do we even need to establish precincts? I mean, it's all, is anybody, if you're voting in Hazelton or you're voting in Strasburg and you're a rural resident, your ballot's gonna look the same, will it not?
In the general election, yes, but you still have to have, precincts though, so we know.
Right,
ballots
could we
are the same,
establish,
but
could we establish one precinct for Emmons County? Because if you live in the city, you're gonna have a different ballot, but if you live in the rural area of Emmons County, now
You're gonna have
that
the same ballot.
you're voting on all the commissioners anyway, couldn't you just have one precinct so that way all the county ballots are basically the same?
Right, but you have some people that wanna know how many people voted in precinct 1, how many voted in precinct 2, how would we know that?
Okay, well, I mean, other than that, but you know, you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying, do you
I
really
do.
need those precincts? Because
Right,
Dan Materi's ballot and my ballot is gonna look exactly the same, we don't live in town.
yeah.
So all our county officials, all our statewide, it's all gonna be the same, so. Well, I mean, if we can keep it the same, just, I don't wanna change things, I was just saying, do we need 5 precincts if everybody's ballots can be the same outside of the cities?
We should keep the precincts. So
Okay.
Should we?
I think so.
Well, whatever's easiest, don't matter to me, I was just raising a question on it. We can keep the 5 precincts, that way it's all, I mean, especially if you've been doing it that way.
Well, I guess that way is the way to determine if the boundaries need to be changed, wouldn't it? How do you
Well, you
determine
keep
that?
your districts, you would keep your districts.
I mean, you're right, but how do you determine if the districts get changed, the boundaries?
How do you determine if you have to change them? If you take the total population of Emmons
So you
County.
just go by, you don't go by how many people or your
No,
population?
you gotta go by population,
Okay.
so
Okay.
after every census, it's determined, you take the total population divided by 5, and you have to be within 10%.
But the purpose of
Within
the,
10%.
Yeah,
what she's talking about is the voting precinct though, which the reason why the voting precinct mattered is because when you only voted in your district, then Donnie's ballot looked different than mine because we were voting for our county commissioners.
Because you were
But now that we
within that
changed that
Whole
deal, everybody's gonna be voting for all the county, basically, I mean, it's either gonna be,
That might change again in a few years. How
It
many-
could, right.
How many years was that set up that way?
it's every 10 years.
Every 10
It's every census, so. Right, I'm not asking to reinvent the wheel, I'm more so just asking a question. You could go to one voting precinct though, but
Right.
it's not gonna really make anything easier or cheaper though, will it?
no,
Maybe
So-
cheaper. No.
Well, that's what I was just saying, if it doesn't make it easier or cheaper, don't change it, so. I would say probably just keep the precincts the same, and then the polling places is what? Courthouse, Hazelton City Hall, and Blue Room? I mean, if that's been working.
it's been working okay, the only thing is with the grocery store being in the blue room, we can't set up the day before the election.
Oh, yeah.
We have to do it that morning, which Josh has agreed to.
So what time do you usually open it?
We open the polls at 9.
Well, you first open at
I
9.
know some
Close at
people do
6.
7, but
Yeah, I see, because here it says you can open as early as 7 and late as 9.
yeah,
But-
we've always opened at 9. I mean, if you guys want to change that, we can. It's totally up to you.
Is it up to us though? I mean,
Yeah, you establish the polling places.
Right.
9 is a little late in my
I
opinion.
would think so too.
I would like 8 o'clock. 7 would be right, but that's a little early. You know, I would prefer 8, to be honest.
I know when I came to Strasburg to vote last time, all they were still closed, and I went to vote, and then,
I think it deters some people from voting.
yeah.
Pardon me?
It deters some people from voting if you're not open early, they can't make it later in the day.
Especially like farmers and stuff,
Days in the morning to what, 5 or 6?
Well, we open
No,
at 9 and
7.
go till 7.
7, you gotta go to 7.
Yeah, I don't think you could close any earlier, you'd
No.
have to stay open.
You know, and could just keep in mind that a lot of my coworkers are senior citizen age, and it gets to be a long day. I mean, if you want to open up an hour earlier, we can sure make it work.
Yeah, that's only one day though, I mean, it's a long day.
Right,
That might burn out though.
if they burn out, they can rest the next day. I would go for opening at 8.
Yes, I would agree.
8 to 7.
8 to 7, yeah, you gotta go till 7 at least.
So do we have a motion to, keep the precinct boundaries the same as the voting precincts, or are the voting
Keep the
precincts?
precincts the same,
The precinct boundaries are the same,
yes.
and the 3 polling places,
Yeah.
in Strasburg. And the poll times to be from 8 AM to 7 PM. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to it.
Motion by Commissioner Holmes, is there a second to that
I
motion?
second.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on the precinct boundaries, the designated polling places, or the times of operations? And this is for the primary and the general. Is there any more discussion? Is everybody clear on the motion? Not hearing any more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The election is hereby scheduled.
Okay with that, Josh?
Josh is an early bird, he's got no problems. Hey, look at that, we're actually early now.
Huh?
Jason, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Morning, Commissioners.
Hey, Gary.
All right, so good morning, Commissioners and Chairman. I am Jason Forney. My position at NDACO is the Next Generation 911 Program Manager. So I manage the 911 system for states and for counties. It's a county program initiated about 7 years ago. What you have before you is that power agreement that was distributed by our executive director on September 1st. How this came about was we found some auditors that are from the Next Generation 911 program, and we have historically just received monies from the counties directly for support of that program. There's 10 cents of each first dollar for 911 fees that goes to the Association of Counties to pay for the state 911 system. As we were looking at, as our auditors are actually auditing us, they asked where our information is. So, it says the fees on faith, and basically what happens is we don't have a lot of supporting detail to appease the auditors and make them happy with that rent. So they asked for some more information. We started talking about it. We started trying to figure out what kind of information we would require, what additional information we would require of the counties. And then we just figured, look, this is going to add more work to the counties. What if we switched it around? What if we just took the 911 fees directly and then took the portions out that were necessary and then remitted the rest back to the county? That way we'd remove the overhead from the auditor's offices. So that was the initiative that we pushed out in September. Most of the auditors had agreed that that was a good direction to go. We passed it by the Association of Counties Board and the County Commissioners Association. So essentially what the program would do, is what the program is proposing to do, would be to work with the telephone companies and have the 911 fee surcharges remitted to the Association of Counties directly. The Association of Counties in turn would pull that 10 cents out for the Next Gen 911 program and the 50 cents out for the siren and send that to the state treasurer. The full balance then would be remitted back to the county in full. North Dakota Association of Counties wouldn't take out anything from that fee, which is remitted straight back. So what I'm here today, I guess, is I'm seeking support for the program, or approval, disapproval, however you want to move forward with the program. We do have 52 of the 53 counties signed up. Right now, we have met with the telcos, and they want to know, how many counties are on board. So before we move forward with the program in January 1st, we wanted to just get down here and talk this over with you, see if it's something you wanted to do or definitely don't want to do, and then we'll make sure that we accommodate Emmons County however it chooses to proceed. But I'm here today to answer any questions. There's been a lot of developments. A lot more details are known now than were known on September 1st, so I'm happy to answer any questions. We do have a governance board that's forming here in December, comprised of 91 association members and auditors. So there's auditors from Logan County, from McKenzie County, and Cass County on this board that will oversee this joint powers agreement. The Association of Counties is going to run the program, but it's going to be directed by the governing board for the program, which is, again, comprised of counties that are participating in the JPA. So with that, I guess I'll just stop and try and answer any questions that you guys may have.
Anybody have any questions for Jason? So this was looking to take effect when, Jen?
So the effective date, since we did reach the sort of threshold we wanted to get to before we decided to move forward with the program, we didn't want to have 5 or 10 counties not do it and then start the program and create a big mess. So we have reached a threshold with 52 of the 53 that we're definitely moving forward. We have talked with the telcos; they're agreeable to move forward on the 1st of January. So it would take effect in January. The vendors have 30 days to remit their surcharges. So when they collect them in January, they're afforded 30 days to remit those to the county or to the collecting point. So we would then turn around and remit those January revenues in March. So we give them all of February, which is the 30 days, presumably if they paid on like January 29th or January 30th, we have to give them the 30 days. So the January revenues would come on March 7th, the February revenues would come on April 7th, and then so on and so forth. Along with the remittance back to the counties, we are going to be instituting requirements for the telcos to tell us specifically how many lines they have in each county. So their report is going to have a list of all counties participating, a column for wireline, for wireless and voice over IP lines, and they'll be required, along with their remittance, to fill out this form so we know exactly how many lines they're reporting for each county. From those remittance reports, we then turn around and compile a document or a report for each county that will show every single carrier that's reporting lines in the county, along with the remittance, along with the administrative fee that they're pulling off, and then we'll remit that report along with an ACH directly to the county, so that you have the information you need to support things like, I think you have state radio that you support here, and have to report that kind of information to state radio. So you'd have that information all in one shot to report to that on a monthly basis. One of the other things, I guess, if I may just continue, one of the things I wanted to mention, there has been some conversation about, well, can we pull out of this if it's not working for the county? And our answer to that is yes, of course. We've had numerous counties ask that same question. We've told them the same answer. Yes, of course, you can withdraw. It's not directly in the joint powers agreement you're looking at, but it is part of the master JPA. And you can withdraw from any program from the counties at any point that you'd like. The other thing that we've heard too is, well, how is this being paid for? We have made a commitment to do this at no cost and give all the money that the counties do back. One of the things that we're really hoping for is that we can reduce the administrative fee retention that the telcos are taking out. Currently, they're afforded, they can take out to 5% or up to 5% of the 911 fee, That's why when you're looking at that diagram, you see it going from $2 to $1.90. Most of the telephone companies do that. North Dakota, as far as I can tell, has the highest administrative fee percentage in the country. I serve on the National Association of State 911 Administrators, and I've been polling other states on what their fees are, and the highest has been 3%, Montana's is 0%. There's other states, most of them are in the 1 to 1.5% range. So one of the things that we're hoping to do in the future is go to the legislature and say, look, let's look at this 5% and let's reduce it. We are trying to create efficiency across the county spectrum to make it easier for telcos to remit and make it less work for the counties to process the information. So we do believe that we'll be able to lower that. And then what we've considered proposing to the board at some point is, okay, if we can get it from 5% to 0 or 5% to 1.5 or something, could 0.5% of that savings be used to support whatever program or support the folks at NDUCO to operate the program? But the ultimate goal here is to get more money back to the counties. I did some quick math in the back. That would be anywhere from about $2,500 to $3,000 additional back to Emmons County if we were to get it from 5% to say 1%. Even if we were to add 0.5% to NDUCO to support that administration. So it's not something we're banking on. It's something that we think is worthwhile to the counties to get more money back to the counties and support the counties, support the program by demonstrating to the legislature and creating a more efficient process.
So how do you guys get paid?
Well, initially we don't. So as I was mentioning, the idea would be to go to the legislature, reduce the 5% retainage, let's say to 1%, and then 0.5% so if the telcos were allowed to retain 1%, then maybe 0.5% of whatever was coming in we could use to support that individual. That individual is expected to use maybe 30 to 50% of their time at NDUCO processing this kind of work.
So right now, Marla's the auditor's office processes, or the treasurer's office?
I do the 911,
Right.
it comes in.
And that comes in monthly or something, and then that's on like a per line basis, and then, okay. So do you actually have to calculate that and figure all that out, or do they figure that out?
They figure it out.
Okay. And then that just goes right into the treasurer's?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we talked about last month.
Well, we talked about it before, and like I said, I guess I just have the opinion that I just don't really feel like it's proper for us to hand over a statutory obligation like collecting tax dollars for 911 fees to go to a non-government organization. I guess that's just my belief. That it's nothing personal or anything like that. It's just a core belief I have that, I mean, it's kind of the county's responsibility to collect those taxes. I don't think it's a huge burden on us to collect them. I mean, is it another step? Probably, but I mean, at the same time too, I mean, even the association's pitch is you're not going to do it in an additional charge to the counties, but if it ends up becoming a burden or you end up having a problem retaining that office, you're probably going to have to hire more staff, which means that our membership fee is probably going to go up, so we're going to probably pay for it at some point anyway. And so I just don't really see the net gain, and on top of that, I just don't feel like it's proper. I mean, we're the elected officials and you're kind of handing over a statutory obligation to a non-elected bunch. I mean, I know the board that you're gonna form is elected officials, but they're not elected by the people to serve on that board. They're just gonna be people, either it's an election through the Association of Counties or a peer review process, however you're gonna form that board, but I just don't really see the value in it, and I don't really know if it's the proper role of this government to concede that obligation, but.
Marcy, how much time per month would you estimate that takes you?
It doesn't take me too long.
Yeah,
I would say an hour.
okay.
Anybody else have anything to add on the 911 collections?
I guess I think if it's not too much of a burden for Marcy, keep it the way we got it.
Right.
Anybody else have anything to add? Does anybody want to act on this joint powers agreement? Is there a motion to, I guess we don't really need a motion other than to approve it, so does anybody want to make a motion to approve it? Does anybody want to make a motion to enter in the joint powers agreement? Is there any motion to enter into the joint powers agreement? Not hearing any, I don't think we're gonna be participating.
Understood.
Okay, so thanks for coming in, Jason. You're welcome. Yep. Almost 11, we're a little ahead of schedule here now, so I guess the one other agenda item that got added was the GPS and county vehicles, we can discuss that. If now's the proper time, it's fine. Okay.
Fine.
Go ahead. Commissioner Miller.
Well, I still get calls on county vehicles being used. And I feel the only way to be accountable for employees, and I'm talking all the vehicles, except for the sheriff's, of course. Even this little white vehicle outside. If, constituent sees it being used, they think it's unnecessary, well, we can back that up, say this is where the person went, this is what it was used for. We have accountability for every place that vehicle was. So I feel under the recent thing that have been brought up about it, that would be something to consider.
So you're talking about just like on the motor vehicles or like on all the equipment, like the blades too, or?
I believe the blades have it on already or not.
Well, I think they have GPS, but I don't think we do it. I don't know if we either don't have the software, or we don't pay for the software, or we don't utilize it, one or the other.
That was a pretty expensive deal, I think.
Well, I think they're, like I said, I think they're all capable of it, but I think you had to buy some software or something to participate in like some kind of a tracking.
Right.
And then it was either a per blade deal, or it was quite a few $1,000 a year. It's a yearly deal, so that was, because that got brought up before too, like. Because then the other issue that got brought up with that was that if people knew where the blades are, like in real time, they would start interfering, start going, well, they're over here, I'm gonna drive over there and tell them to open this, so, because I know we kind of entertained that, wasn't the DOT kind of, because the DOT's got that, where you can find the plows on the highway.
Yep.
And so people had brought that up before. I don't think anybody's ever brought up the actual vehicles, just the blades, but.
It would just be.
I mean, with the vehicles, I'm not sure.
More for accountability for our employees to, justify where they've been, so there is no questions.
I'm not really sure how you would go about that as far as like a, well, I mean, you would install something, but I mean, it's like everything. It's like the hardware's not that bad. It's always the software and the tracking that becomes a, you know, I mean, I don't know, I have no idea
what the costs are.
Well, and the thing is I don't know who would track it. Like, you'd either have to designate an employee of the courthouse, or you'd almost have to have like a company.
Is there a way to do it to where there's just a record, and if there's any question, look it up?
Well, I would imagine that's probably some part of a software package or something, like you could probably go in and download or something, but I have not even the first clue who to call on that.
Right.
Like for the blades and stuff, you could go through like RDO or Butler and they would have something. As far as in vehicles, I would imagine that's some kind of aftermarket. I mean, I'm sure, I guarantee there's something. It's just whether or not, who would even go to and what it would cost, I guess.
Gary, did you say Kim had it on there?
Kim had it on their vehicles, right, but I can't remember who, yeah.
Right. Well, like I said, I guarantee there's a way to do it. It's just more so, you know, if it's somebody out of Bismarck or something, like just a computer company, somebody that sells obviously some kind of GPS program or something like that, but,
I suppose we could talk to Chem Electric or Beck or somebody.
yeah, see who they use.
We could, I mean, I don't know.
I have no idea where to pursue that, other than that, like I said, I guarantee it exists, but.
Okay.
So like this old vehicle out here, you could get one for that?
Oh, I'm sure.
Probably put it on anything.
I'm sure it's probably just some kind of powered GPS disc or something on there. The main thing is like anything, it's always the software. Like, do you have to have a laptop inside the vehicle? Can you track it all through a database? Like, I don't, that part, you don't know anything about that kind of stuff?
No, I know some people have them, I don't know how it works.
Right.
I mean, you can get a chip installed in, and then someone will be designated to monitor that data, but yeah, it'd be software that you probably pay a year to.
Okay.
Well, and especially if you wanted to formulate it in some kind of, like, you'd almost have to like either track every vehicle like individually, but like if you wanted to do like, let's just say a group, like 5 vehicles, I would imagine you're gonna have to have some kind of like a server, or something, you know, or you're gonna have to download to a cloud, or, you know what I mean, like,
Go somewhere.
to be able to just find something and be like, to be able to track that, like that would, that's where,
Yeah, it won't
I
be
mean,
cheap, that's for sure.
I have no idea how that would work. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna refute its existence, only the implementation and cost, I guess, but I don't know, it's something that somebody wants to get some information on it, it could be considered, but I wouldn't have the first clue on where to go.
I won't do that.
For that, so. Okay.
Everything costs money.
Well, I mean, if you wanna do some like research or make some phone calls, find something out, some kind of a company that manages, I would imagine, like you said, if Beck or Ken do it, it's probably somebody relatively local or something.
It's Cameron probably.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll see what I can find out to help you out, see what I can find out.
Good.
well, with that, unless anybody's got any more to add on the subject, if not, we'll take Skylar, who's here now.
You guys all know John from Old Engineering?
Yep.
Morning. We've got some handouts about some funding projects and stuff like that, so. I'd like to talk about first, I guess, 'cause he's got a meeting he's gotta get to after this.
There you go.
I believe there is one of them. Yeah, we can. Sorry, this.
So on here, I have kind of 4 of your upcoming projects listed. We got the Sanger Lake, the Wallbaum Pit Road, and then the Kelch Crossing. And then this latest one, Skylar and myself talked about this grader is on 17th Avenue.
Was that the one up by Braddock?
Yes. Correct. The first 3, we're coming along, hoping to bid them out to you relatively soon. So I've kind of got some updated costs on here of what prices are looking like recently. And then also, recently this flexible transportation funding just came out. So we were thinking about applying for it for all of these projects. And right now I have 50% of the project costs figured for that application. You guys can tell me what to do for that, if you want 50%, more than that, less than that. It kind of shows at the end, Emmons County is cost at 50%.
And that's on the 17th Avenue grade range you're talking, right?
Yes.
Right, because the other, I mean, the Woolbaum Pit and the Kelch one, we have prairie dog funding, we were gonna appropriate for that,
We
right?
could apply for this flex funding for those also,
Okay.
because your prairie dogs are not gonna cover the cost of those.
Well, we were kind of under that assumption that we were probably gonna have to pay some additional costs, but, I mean, if the prairie dog covers 95%, we gotta kick in for the last, I think that's still a pretty good deal for us, but yeah, I mean, I guess applying for some flex funding would be good to maybe even cover those shortfalls too, if, I mean, it's, and that's from that state fund that we would kind of discuss at the Association of Counties
Yep,
meeting, or the convention or whatever, right, we met with the DOT.
yep,
Can a guy use both of them for one project?
definitely.
Yeah, so you can use the flex funding on top of the prairie dog?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I don't see no harm in adding it, you know, I suppose, does it matter, like, as far as your chances of getting accepted, if you like, if you scale your ask?
Yeah, so one of the, kind of the criteria for, in that application, if you're matching funding, like county funds and, or federal aid funds, that's a good thing.
Okay.
So like,
So they're kind of hoping for like match dollars for like a more bang for your buck type scenario, is what they're looking for? Okay.
And those 3 projects, you know, they're almost pretty much bid ready, so that's another thing that's huge on these applications.
Well, I don't think it would hurt to, I guess what's your opinion on for like an ask amount, like?
I think 50%, that's kind of what we're seeing, a lot of people are doing roughly around that.
So you're thinking ask for 50% on all these other ones too, just include them all?
Yeah, there's no limit on how many applications you submit.
So you don't think it'll hurt our chances at all or anything like that either? I'm just trying to scale it where it's like, we could be better off to ask 50 on one or 50 on all of them, or like, that's where I'm just
Yeah,
trying to.
I don't wanna tell you what to do there, it's a guess.
Okay, so I mean, you don't have a specific opinion on it then?
No.
Well, that's the only thing is I don't wanna be like, well, geez, now they're kind of looking greedy, I don't wanna give them anything. It's like, maybe you just pick a specific project you know would like to get done, but like we had talked about, I mean, in my mind, the Wobom and Kelch one, I mean, if the Prairie Dog is gonna cover a vast majority of it, if we have to kick in a small amount or something, then we'll.
Well, I know when we talked about the Woolbomb and the Kelch one, the prices were a lot lower, or quite a bit lower when we were thinking that the Prairie Dog Fund would cover that. Because what do we have in the Prairie Dog Fund, 1.2? Something like that?
1.3, yeah.
1.3, well, that's roughly the Woolbomb one right there. You know, if you go into just the total cost, not Emmons County total cost, but the total cost with the new numbers, it's 1.1 million. So you're almost looking at $2 million worth of just those two projects alone. If we don't get any funding for it or anything like that, and we're gonna use Prairie Dog funding.
Oh yeah, that did go up.
That's almost $2 million now, so we're gonna have to think about possibly getting rid of one of them and moving it down the road. Like, that's just those two projects. It did go up significantly, so.
But yeah, I was looking at the wrong column here, oh my god,
Yeah,
that
look
Wobom
at
ones are ridiculous, like, that's insane. You spend over $1 million on that.
On that
On
damn
a
deal.
box crop, either one, like $1 million on a box culvert, it's just.
That's insane.
So yeah, them significantly changed, no doubt about that. But I'd say you'd have to apply for that flexible transportation funding, and that's, my gosh, I mean, that's,
You have to apply for all of them.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see what I was looking at your sheet a little bit different here, so your anticipation is that's what the funding would be if we got accepted for all of them, so.
Yeah.
If.
That's a big,
Right.
there's no guarantees.
But I was looking at that sheet like that was already gonna be our number, but that's our number if we got the funding, so. Okay.
And as far as we know, there's no deadline on their decision making. There's nothing that, they're gonna decide January 1, February, March, whatever.
So the most shovel-ready projects might get the most precedent anyway, because they're gonna want to make decisions on things that actually happen.
Yeah.
Cause
And you're pitching in potentially, the county would be pitching in on the project also.
Right.
That's-
Right.
well, I think in that regard, then yeah, I think you would, I think you'd have to try to put them all on there and just see if any one of them or all of them get something.
Yeah, you have to be a fool not to, wouldn't
The
you?
only thing is, what was the amount in that fund?
I wanna say it was like 60-some million
Right.
for the whole state.
And I think they had an anticipation of probably having 2 to 3 times that in application, so I mean,
At least,
it's,
yeah.
it's gonna be tough to get any money out of that probably.
But I mean, if you could get 500,000, I mean.
Oh, yeah, I mean, any amount is better than nothing, but I'm just saying that's gonna be a scrutinized project, cause it's gonna be, there's gonna be a heck of a lot more applications than there are dollars, so. But yeah, I don't think it would hurt at all in that case to probably just put them all on there. See how they would go about it, if they're gonna divvy up small amounts, just say no, pick, I don't know, I guess, like you said, you'll have to find out, but all you can do is apply.
So that being said, like the Woolbomb and the Kelch one, I guess, they're, like you said, they're pretty much bid ready. And with not knowing when the funding comes out, do we wanna proceed with bidding them? Or just wait till the funding comes out? Cause you know, the early bird, like we've discussed, the earlier you get them on the bid, maybe the prices go down a little bit. Or-
Well, and I don't think there's any harm in bidding them, cause I know for sure we're gonna probably do at least one. And maybe the bidding process will identify which one, you know, if one is significantly less than the other, where we can pay for it much easier, then the other one might have to just get tabled, or, you know, I mean, there might be a different scenario that comes up, so I'd say bidding them is still I think you'd wanna bid them like you're gonna do them, cause like you said, if you wait, next thing you know, you're getting lower on the bid list for projects and materials or everything, so I think you'd wanna be out there.
Is there a fee for bidding?
No,
Well, then submit bids, yeah.
Yeah, I would
I
say,
mean, just an advertising fee to put in the paper.
right, the
Small
value,
thing.
yeah, I would say you'd have to bid them like you're doing them no matter what, and just, I mean, if they both come in to the point where you can only pay for one, then I think you just have to pick one. And, you know, cause that prairie dog funding could come out again in another biennium, so there's a possibility of it coming out again. And if it doesn't, you know, if there's other funding mechanisms, you try it. If not, you don't have the funding, I guess you don't do it, so. And like you said, maybe if you bid both of them, they might get a little cheaper if someone's gonna try and do both of them, cause you might save on some mobilization or, you know, you just never know till you bid them, so. I would say do it.
So there is another, we've kind of come up with another, we'll come up, we could also bid them for just culverts instead of box culverts. That might,
Cheapen big time.
I would say that would be a lot cheaper, but the question is it better? Well, I mean, obviously not better, but I mean, is it good enough? Is it?
Yeah, so I just sized each of the crossings, they both would take 3 10-foot diameter culverts, steel, and that would get you for the 10-year design event.
Excuse me, the Woolbaum deal, the one to the, is it to the northwest? Isn't that a steel? The
Right
one
now.
that he did himself,
Yes,
right?
yeah, it's an 8-foot diameter. I
Okay.
think it's an 8-foot.
That would be for what, a 10-year deal? You said, 10-year design?
Yep.
So how many years we got in there to haul gravel out of there?
No, he's talking about the event size.
Yeah.
So like
How much
every
flow?
10 years.
How much
it would
flows
to
to
that point.
Oh.
And that flow is basically the same, is it not? Of the one that's got the steel along with the one that we're talking a box? Is that the same flow of water?
No, so the box culverts are designed for the 15-year event, that's the minimum.
Okay.
So it provides a little more protection. But I got the road elevation is the same for both.
Right.
Your overtopping would be, I think both of them are getting built up about 4 to 5 feet.
Feet?
Yeah.
So how much cheaper would the culverts be?
You
I wanna
don't know
say
it to
Probably 50 to 60% of
a box.
a box.
That's quite a bit cheaper.
Well, the other thing too is you probably maybe even get a few more bids. It's maybe a little bit more manageable project than a box culvert or, I mean, it's gonna be big culverts, don't get me wrong, but I mean,
There's a million ways you could set this up to bid, but I was thinking how the DOT does it, you bid the box culvert and the contractor has to bid the culverts at the same time. So then you can see the difference.
do you think it would attract more bidders if you bid it just as a culvert side versus a box culvert, or do you think it's gonna be the same?
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, cause there's a few more people probably be willing to tackle it if it's steel culverts versus a concrete structure.
Yeah, because these boxes, you'd almost have to get a crane in there.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Where like with steel culverts, I mean, you could maybe get a smaller company, let's just say out of Bismarck or something like that, that maybe wouldn't bid a box, but
Yeah.
would probably bid metal culverts or something.
When they bid a steel culvert, I'm just asking a dumb question, but it's a question. Being it's steel round, did they bid this to pour cement slurry down along those sides to keep it from washing out?
No.
They don't?
No,
Okay.
we would just use a gravel or a rock backfill.
Packed,
around
okay.
it. Yeah, and they'd obviously have to pack it in good. And then we would rip wrap the inslopes on both ends.
But they don't piss a slurry down along them rock?
We typically don't know.
Okay.
Do they put fabric in there too?
Yes, there would be fabric underneath the rock
Right.
and then also underneath the culverts.
Yeah.
So it would have a good base.
As you see out here on Highway 13.
But if you get that much water flowing through, you could, they
All
could
that water
wash
washes
them out
out to
though.
the south.
They could,
They poured
Yeah.
that slurry of
I mean, we're
cement
talking a 10-year
on that
design
rock to
event.
keep it from washing.
It's probably not gonna be overtopped a lot.
And the only reason I asked it, because you see it along the state highways, they use it, this slurry of cement in on their rock.
Yeah, I know the state, just by Moffett there, they have those concrete blankets or whatever.
Yep.
Those are spendy, but
Oh, they're up there by Long Lake.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
There probably wouldn't be any weight benefit from the box culvert versus the steel culverts too, like as far as like a load capacity, you'd be able to run the same amount, like the same weights and
Yeah.
it'd be up to, what is it, 80,000 or whatever, so.
Yeah,
So is there really a huge benefit to doing the box culvert other than just the increase in water capacity, going from a 10-year to a 15-year event?
Well, potential maintenance, longevity.
Right, likelihood of a culvert washing out's a lot better than a box culvert probably.
Well, and it's gonna rust out.
Rust out.
Probably quicker. The lifespan's probably not.
But you're still talking 50% less, 50% less.
Yeah.
You know, when you have to replace it again, it's gonna be a higher price to do.
Well, that's the thing, when you replace it, it'll be even more yet.
Well, I guess,
We get bids on both.
I guess my thought process, if you were gonna go about it, is the box culvert at Woolbaum's makes a lot of sense, cause you have the gravel hauling aspect and a lot of other things, so you don't want that road to be down any more than it has to, so the longevity part makes sense. The extended flood reduction, you know, cause it's gonna take higher water to go over it or do any real damage to it. A lot of those things make sense, where maybe at the Kelch one, that's something where maybe big enough culverts would do it rather than a box, because it really only serves a handful of property owners and people.
Right.
Where the Woolbaum, that road is going to serve the state, the county, the schools, I mean, everything uses that route. So that's where I'm trying to pitch the idea of, you maybe really wanna push for the box there and direct a majority of your funding there, try and do a cheaper culvert project at Kelch's that would still be adequate, and try and do that where that might be a little more cost effective, rather than either doing just two cheaper projects or two really expensive projects, because maybe a box culvert might be an excessive cost on something like that Kelch Road. That's my opinion, if you're gonna go, I'm not saying you bid them different, but I'm just saying that the mentality is like, hoping the Woolbaum box comes financially feasible enough, you can try and do that one, and if you're gonna save dollars, then try and do the Kelch one as a bigger culvert project, because the culverts we put in, I mean, obviously we haven't been through a huge flood cycle, but I mean, they've been holding.
They fared pretty well this spring.
But, I mean,
Over top, well, we knew that they were gonna do that, but it wasn't.
right, so I mean, we've kind of, I mean, maybe proven the short-term concept that culverts would probably hold there and work, so if we did more of a specific culvert project on there, maybe that would be better rather than going through a full box on a road that probably doesn't get near the use. Especially our own personal benefits is that we're gonna be utilizing that gravel pit for 10 plus years, not to mention if the state goes, I mean, there's a lot of other material we don't own up there, even if the pit's played out, there could be material up there for 20-some years. There's gonna be people hauling on that road.
What's on that Goldaddy place to the north of Goldaddy's on that main road? Is that a box or is that a steel?
I believe those are steel culverts.
That is a steel?
I believe so.
Okay. I've only driven across it once and it's huge.
Yeah, and I think that's, or maybe that is a box culvert. I guess I don't, not 100% sure, but they concreted it all.
It'd be west of Goldaddy's and north, if I'm not mistaken, am I right? And then it flows east and west.
I think it's east of Goldaddy's.
Huh?
I think it's east of Goldaddy's, I think.
What's his name?
Yeah,
Mouse. Mouse. You
Oh,
come
that
out
one.
and then you go north.
Oh, that's,
That's a big watershed up there.
Cause I thought the one east of Goldaddy's the one that I'm thinking of, that's a box, but it's like a Texas crossing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking right by the yard.
yeah.
The low water crossing,
yeah.
but that's like a concrete structure, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
That
that
one's
one.
cement.
Yeah,
This one is from Mouse Wald, what's his name?
Yeah, Al.
Al Wald's.
Just
Don't you
so
go west and then north?
I'm not
Oh,
sure about that.
it's, west and north of his place, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a cement.
That is a cement cross culvert. Okay, box, okay.
Well, I think going forward, I think we bid them both and then probably bid them, like you said, bid them as a culvert and as a box, you know, as a steel culvert and a box.
Let's see where you're
And
at.
maybe do a mixture of both and see which one's the most feasible in that, cause I would probably lean to a box on the Woolbaum Road just because of the weight and the use
Right.
of that road versus the Kelch one, that might be.
Yeah.
What's in there, steel?
It's steel coated with several layers of concrete over the years. I mean, they've always tried to patch it over the years. They rip wrapped it, they hauled a load or two of concrete, it's been troweled off. I mean, it's been doctored many times. Everybody's had a piece of it over the
Well,
last.
who's in there? Northern Improvement, are they in there too?
Well,
Not as right now.
basically,
They're not.
it's.
They used to be, or was
basically
it
it's the
Knife River?
Woolbaums, and then, yeah, Knife River had some interest in there. The DOT has been in there from time, it depends on who's got a milling project. If there's appropriate material in there and they find it, then they usually do a contract with the Woolbaums, you know, so.
Can you get any money out of them? Or no?
Well, I don't know if anybody's really got any active action in there
Yeah.
right now. Now, going forward, I mean, you wanna put a toll booth on it maybe or something, it's not a bad idea.
Well, yeah, when you think of it, you know.
Well, right, but really, when you think about it, the interest is basically the Wolbach family, and then they sell to whoever wants to make a contract with them, and it's usually probably only over the summer. Like, I know when the deal, I think Knife River or Fishers or somebody had a milling project, and then they were hauling what'd been like fines for asphalt, and they really did a lot, but it was only like one summer, and they were out of there. I don't think they owned any of the material, I think they just bought it off of a pile. So that would be tough, because nobody probably knows if they're even gonna be in there or not until the project comes up. Now, if the project comes up, like you said, you wanna put the toll booth up for the summer, maybe you can get a little money out of it, but it'd be pretty tough, because I don't think anybody has any interest in there other than us and the Wolbombs, so, that I know of, so. But yeah, I would say, unless anybody's got a different opinion, I'd say bid them as both, for both locations, and see what we get.
So should we give you guys the option to split, only do one of the projects, one of the sites? Either the wall bomb or the Kelch, or should we bid on?
Do what? Come back on that again.
Do you want to have the option to only do one of those projects after it's bid?
Well, it depends on the dollar amount, I guess.
Well, I suppose, because you're saying you wanna write that in the bid, that we have the ability to,
Yep, so normally we have a mobilization bid item. So if you only want to do one of the projects, we would have two separate mobilizations. Or I would completely split the projects apart. I probably would.
Otherwise,
You'd
I
be
was gonna
smart
say,
to
I
split them,
think
wouldn't you?
you would probably wanna split them, and then just, because if anybody's gonna bid both of them, they're probably gonna bid them competitively with the idea of getting both.
Yeah, then they might only get one.
Right,
Well, yeah, but they also have to consider if you guys are not gonna do one of the projects. so you gotta
then they
figure
don't wanna be too cheap on the other one
Yeah.
or something, right? So I think you'd almost have to bid them as two separate projects.
Okay.
Cause that way, because you might have, like we've had before, like with them grade raises where we had two separate contractors, you know, each location, we had a low bidder, so then we took each one and we actually got, and that might be a better case, maybe if you get two contractors and they might each get one project done in that year. If you get two big projects with one contractor and they get delayed on one, they might not get the other one done too, so you know. I would say bid them separately.
Okay.
And then if you award them to one company, great, and if not, I think you'd have to do it with the opportunity to back out of one if the bids got out of control or something, you know. So, you might have a box that's just absolutely ridiculous, but a culvert at one of the locations might be reasonable enough where you're like, hey, we're just gonna do the steel culverts at one.
The deal on the Center Lake, is that a green light to go, or is that still pending?
We're still good to go on that. It's just if you want to apply for the flexible funding.
Which we do.
I think we'd apply for it.
Does applying for the flex funding matter with start dates or anything? Like, we could start it and get funding even after the project was completed?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
I don't, well, you know what I'm
After
saying,
complete,
like,
but we could award it in, let's say in April, if I'm not getting here and get funding, I think we can apply that funding to your 20%.
'cause that would've been my concern, is not that you go start with it and then they're like, well, we're not gonna help you with that now, we're like, shoot, maybe we should, so. I mean, I think you just wanna move forward with it, like we're maybe not gonna get funding but still apply for it with the
Yeah.
hopes of getting some. I think you gotta do it so you can move forward with some of these projects, I guess, just put them forward and see what we get for bids, I guess.
Yeah.
And is that what you guys wanna go with, is 50% on these fundings, this flexible spending? Is that the number we wanna run with?
Except for Sanger, that's only 20%, your matching dollars. Yeah.
Well, I think 50% probably looks good, because I think if we would, let's just say we get 50% on both, if your deal came in, then we would be able to afford both of them, because we'd have
Right.
match dollars, so. I think 50% is probably just a
That's what I
good
would-
conservative ask,
I
where
would do that.
the likelihood of maybe getting it's probably pretty good, where if you ask for 75, then they might go, oh geez, that's a lot, so.
Right.
I'd say 50% is a reasonable ask.
Okay, I think,
Yeah, and I should probably just update you too on that bridge project. Unfortunately, the environmental document, we had it almost ready to be signed by the DOT, and they came back and said all of these bridge projects that they're applying this federal aid to They have to do bat studies on them now.
Definitely what?
A bat study. Because it's in the corridor for bats.
The corridor of the what?
Bats.
Bats, like Batman.
Yeah. So, and they told us this, they just came out with it in November, and they said you can't do the study between November and April.
That's nasty.
Yes. So, we're lining up somebody to go out there and look for bats in April 1st, November. So that means the project.
So you have to hire a little old Batman to go out and look for the, right?
Yes.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
What about barn swallows? Isn't that another thing?
Well, they're not protected like bats are now.
Yeah.
Are they?
What are?
Are barn swallows protected like bats are?
Well, they're in the same category.
That's standard looking for those two, so.
Yeah, if you got.
But you need to bring in a specialist to look for bats,
Yes.
right? I'm
Yes.
not joking, that's exactly why it is.
Yeah.
Goodness
I
gracious.
know the barn swallows, they wouldn't let you take down a bridge if there was barn swallow nests on there.
Skylar's is the same bridge, which is.
Yeah, this would be the one there right by Dion Singer, yeah.
Can you put somebody out there to offset the bats from being there when they show up beforehand?
Well, how about if they just pick it up and move it off to the
Hey, that's a
side?
good appointment for you.
Well, I was just thinking Commissioner Materi could stand on the bridge and yell during breeding season so the bats don't nest on
You
the
gotta
bridge.
be kidding me when I heard you say bats, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's crazy, okay, so basically it's delayed till at least April so you can do this bat study.
Yes, yep. And hopefully they don't find any bats, because then that'll add a whole bunch more to it.
Right, okay. Well, I guess this is an excellent lesson in the cause and effect of taking federal dollars though, right? I mean,
Yes.
literally, I mean, this is
Did this just come
the
about?
tape you go through when you,
It just came out in November, they just told us about it. They said it's not in their manual, there's no way anybody can know about this, but it just came out, we're doing it now.
wonder how many bats they've killed in Ukraine. Think that matters? Apparently not.
Where
Okay.
the hell is that down in Austin, Texas?
I don't
That bridge with all these bats that
Well,
come
that's-
1.7 million every
Barn
night.
swallows, you probably, you didn't know that?
I didn't know barn swallows were, that's a thing, huh?
That's the thing.
Wow.
If you got barn swallows, they're nesting there, you can't.
So we potentially bid it after the bat study then? Is that what we're?
You have to have the bat study done to bid it though, I'm
Yes.
assuming, right?
Yes.
So you
Before you
really,
sign up, yeah.
yeah, you can't do anything until the bat study. So
Skylar,
that's on delay till.
would you go out to the bridge to
At
make sure
least
there's no
April,
nest
obviously the findings
for
will
the
take a
bats
little bit too, so probably more like
beforehand?
May, June.
I don't know what that.
Yes.
I don't know what
And
that
then,
is.
to get the beams built by the end of this year, oh, it's gonna be tight.
So it's basically gonna push it off 6 months to your minimum.
I didn't see that happen.
That's just wild. So then the cost of the bridge will probably go up too, which
Yes.
is gonna. Some
This
expensive.
is the one that was potentially fully funded.
Exactly, but I'm just saying, and even in the event for
Right.
like the federal government, it's like this extension of this study is probably gonna cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which means not only the cost of the study, but the delays of the project, as well as probably the increase of the project, which most likely will happen if you delay it. So you're literally talking this bat study could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So what do they do if they find them? You got displacement?
Yeah, we don't know, we have to do some sort of mitigation measures.
Gotta make it, yeah, gotta make
Commissioner
it.
Materi standing out there on the bridge, yeah, that'll work, we'll pay for
It's
that.
kinda like mitigation with
You
wetlands.
basically got.
Yeah.
It is, it's exactly like that, what it is, it's basically mitigation for an endangered or protected species. Just-
Put them someplace else.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
We'll have to pick up the old bridge and set it out in the pasture
So
somewhere.
that's why I said, why don't you just pick it up, move it off to the side?
Let them nest on
Well,
that.
actually, we're working on that too. The DOT had to do an MOA on the existing bridge, and we haven't seen that yet either.
Is that gonna be like the Long X Bridge, where they're gonna like potentially like preserve it or sell it to someone then, kinda, or?
Well, nobody wanted it, so I don't know what that
Well, I
means.
think Daryl, or Doug Geffro asked, you would like it, I think. They live right there.
The neighbors there?
Yeah.
But they didn't respond when we did the public notice.
I know he said something to me one time, they would kinda like that bridge, I don't know.
He said the same thing to me, but he didn't respond, so he missed the period.
Dan, I think you can get a Batman costume or something.
Start calling you a Batman, that's perfect, that'll work. All right, okay, anything else?
I think so.
No, I think that's everything up to date so far now that we end the year with a giant bill or with like giant figures. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave some calendars and pens and everything with you too.
Perfect. Okay, anybody else have any questions for John? If not, then that's it. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Will. Yeah. Hey, Skylar.
I've got some handouts, I guess. Just, revised. Snow and ice ball, I guess we put the state's attorney looked at it, pretty much kind of went with the one we typed up. And you know, pretty much the same, so.
Is there copies from each of them? Spare?
I believe there is one there in there.
There you go.
Just, kind of clarifies the bail, hay bale that we had questions on, granted vehicles, stuff like that.
So are they all off now?
The bales? Not anything, one's been moved since we had the last one.
Did you talk to Joe about that?
About what?
About these hay bales and stuff, what we can do, if anything, or?
Yeah, hay bales, it says it there, and then, maybe removed. Bales may be released or burnt at the owner's expense. We remove them, then we can bill the landowner. I guess.
Remove them to where?
My thoughts are we'll just bring them back to the shop and auction them off, put them on auction them off, because we can't just give them to somebody, because then that just looks like favoritism, right? So I think the easiest way to do it, and we don't wanna burn them, because that's just a nasty mess. They don't burn good, you gotta babysit them all the time. So the only option, the only feasible option is load them up, haul them to our shop, and just put them on auction, and auction them off.
So there's a lot yet out there?
From what I'm hearing, yep.
And we can legally do it.
They're
Joe?
breaking the,
Well, it's an obstruction in a right of way, it's no different than anything, we have the right to remove the obstruction.
If it was a vehicle, you have to tow it out of there, wouldn't you?
Just says in Century Code that if we can execute a policy for the hay bale removal, so.
I think the state does it.
Yeah, the state does.
I think if you do that, the main thing is you just have to be specific on like the parcel that's coming off of, so that way you can make sure that you know, so like if you're taking out, you better make sure it's on like the southwest quarter of section 36 or something, so that way.
right, like, we'll probably base it off of like our mowing one, where, they actually videotape, they've been mowing yesterday and they're mowing today. They actually videotape that mowing, and then they jot down the parcel.
Sure, I mean, that's the main thing, just make sure you're specific with it, because.
Just to cover.
If you're
Right,
gonna,
so
if
that
you're
way
gonna
they
put
can't
those
come-
costs, it's gotta be on that parcel owner, not like the renter or something, because you don't
Right.
really know who the renter could be.
Right, that's their responsibility to make their renters do
Agreed.
their job. Like, once again, we do not wanna do this.
No.
Like, we want the person that bailed them or whatever to take care of it. We just have to enforce it, like, it's, so.
And our deadline date is what, the 15th of October?
November 1st.
1st of November?
November 1st.
Holy shit, we're the 15th
You know,
of
on my
December.
tax insert that I do every year, the county's always on October 15th, and that's what I did this year.
Right, well, I think we can, and I believe that you guys can set your own. Like, if you want them out by the October 15th, that's part of Emmons County's
I
bail.
thought that's what it was.
No, October 15th
Yes,
was,
hay bale.
I thought October 1st was.
No, it says right in here.
no, October 1st is mowing, and October 15th is the.
Yeah, it says right in here.
Right.
Is the hay removal.
It says November 1st, so Gary, doesn't it?
Yeah, November 1st, 7,
And that's what
7, 8.
that's what the Century Code, I believe, says, and the state uses November 1st and stuff like that, but,
So now what do? I put 10/15 in my copy.
well, we're past it, this,
Well, it really doesn't matter anyway, because we've never really enforced it after the 15th, because most people have, I mean, the mowing was always the strict one, really. I mean, the bales has been, usually isn't a problem. I don't really know why it is a problem today.
Wow, we're a month and, so 2 weeks going past the deadline date already on these bales and stuff.
we're a month and 2 weeks.
A month and 2 weeks.
We're like 6 weeks past the deadline.
You got a hay trailer to bring them in?
We have a gooseneck that will just
Go get them, a done deal.
go get them,
Do a legitimate count and,
How about a
well,
load?
it really don't matter, I guess, in the count, does it?
just for the auction.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're gonna just have to track our time, I don't think we need to break it down per bale.
No, I think you just do it. If it takes you an hour to take it off that parcel, then that's what you charge for, is it?
Right.
You know, and,
Probably even a little bit, depends on where they're at, it might be more than an hour.
oh, God, yeah, I'm just using it as an
From the
example.
time you leave
You gotta charge
It's
them the
gonna be
time
within
you
about,
shop to the
till you come back.
if it's gonna be an hour, it better be about 5 feet from the courthouse, or 5 feet from the shop almost.
Yeah, you
An
gotta
hour.
dispatch a payload or everything.
I'll guarantee you, as soon as they start loading one bale, they'll be there to.
Well, I hope so, and I mean, like I said, we don't wanna do this, like, this
No,
is just.
but sometimes you gotta set an example.
Right,
They
like,
got some stuff, but
if we don't do anything, we're just parking them for bad.
Exactly.
We're just rewarding them for bad
Right.
behavior, right? So that's why
You gotta do something.
there wasn't a lot of mowing, I mean, I think hopefully, depending on if we find any more, like, we should probably finish up today after the mowing. So there wasn't a whole lot out there, but we just had to go after it, cause if we don't, then we just rewarded them for not doing it.
Right, yeah.
That's the way we.
well, I mean, if you're doing mowing and hauling bales out in December, nobody's got a gripe. Anybody that complains about it is.
Kind of what,
Wow.
Well, no, especially this year, you've had weather time, I mean, I know everybody's busy, but at some point, I mean, you went and made it, hey, why wouldn't you go?
You have plenty of
You
time
got
this
time to
year.
get it over.
Yeah, you have plenty of time this year.
Same thing with mowing, I mow way more ditches than I own, because I hay ditches for other people, and that's part of my deal, I hay their ditch, but I make sure I mow their shoulders, and I go and do several miles of it, it takes a weekend or two, I mean, but
You
you
get
just
it
go do
done.
it, you just go do it, it's not that big a deal. So,
So I guess
Do it.
if we want to clarify the November 1st or October 15th thing, we can change it in here if we want, and then I feel that once we clarify that, I think we can
Just
make it a policy and put it in the paper or put it on our website, or if you guys are okay with it.
Well, might as well keep it.
Go ahead, Joe, what do you wanna say?
Well, the state uses November 1st for the highways, it'd probably be nice to have the same date.
I think we should have some consistency, I agree.
November 1, I'd say, like the state.
It's
Be
just
consistent.
easier.
Well, and that's what's
yeah.
in here, so I mean.
Yeah, but it's still way over the date anyway.
Right,
We're a
but
month and
it
2
was just
weeks.
for the tax statement that Marla submits, so.
Yeah, we got those all done already, so.
Well, at least you didn't say November 15th and it's November 1st, you said October 15th. So
Oh, yeah,
technically,
leave it
you're still
consistent.
good, yeah.
With the
But
state.
right, I'd say be consistent, I totally agree with that, that way there's one rule and that's just the way it is, so. I had most of this hashed out except for,
Yeah, the most of it's just pretty much, just kind of give them the guidelines of what they can expect from us and stuff like
Right.
that, and actually the bales and the stalled cars were kind of where,
there was
one
only
thing, and
one
then I think
thing, right,
we've taken care of that, and it's
Okay.
both states that own it as expense, so. The vehicles aren't gonna happen very often, that's just
That's a rare deal.
it's a rare thing, and it's just most of the bales and stuff, so if we got that considered, I think we should just, I'm okay with making this the policy. You guys are, and like that way we can put it on the website, put it in the paper every fall if we want to. Anybody who has the Facebook page of Emmons County can put it on Facebook page, whatever. 'Cause it just, the other thing, it just states that we're not going into private drives, so the private road part. Which
It's cut and dry.
could
Right,
pretty
pretty much.
well, it's pretty simple with only 2 pages, that's what I like about it, it's not a 17 page.
Right, it's just, I mean, it even talks if we hit a mailbox, right? We will replace, if the snow hits the mailbox, we're not replacing it. If the piece of equipment that's removed that hits it, then we will replace it. We'll try to use what they have, if not, it'll just be a standard mailbox and a standard breakaway post. And if we can't put one in the winter time, it'll just be in a 5-gallon pail till the springtime, till we can dig it in, and then we'll come back and put it back in for them.
All good. I'm good with it.
Well, I guess just for the sake of purpose and since it is a policy, I would entertain a motion to approve this Emmons County Highway Department snow and ice removal policy. Is there a motion to approve, table, deny?
I make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Materi makes a motion to approve the Emmons County Highway Department's snow and ice removal policy. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion? I'd say like any other county policy, if a problem or need arises, this can be amended, and so if there's something you don't like, something needs to be added, this isn't set in stone, but it's a good starting point, it's something we've been asking for, and I think it's a good way to go, so. Is there any more discussion on the snow and ice removal policy? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Policy approved.
Other than that, we're still moving some gravel, we're replacing some culverts and.
Did you get it done over by like Remy's and Baumgartner's?
Yep, finished that yesterday by noon.
Did you lay some gravel on 12th there or whatever, right by the bins to it? Okay.
Yep.
Skylar, that 8 mile stretch, did you drive that after I talked to you?
Yeah.
I was gonna talk to you personally, but
Well, when you go into South Dakota, obviously they have a lot more gravel on there, right? And it's,
I don't know if there's more gravel.
there's quite a bit, cause the day we talked, I drove down there and drove into South Dakota a little ways and stuff like that, so it just looks like there's a lot more gravel on there.
What's happening to our roads, Skylar? Don't get me wrong, why are they getting so flat and wide and no more shape to them? I mean, they're getting to be like that road going into Cattail, some of them.
Trucks.
I was gonna say,
Just
keep
keep
pounding
getting
them
pushed
down.
out.
Yeah,
Keep
wait.
getting pounded out. We're gonna work
It's crazy.
this winter on try to pick some roads so where we can reshape and bring them back up and stuff like that, so.
Well, and I think that's one thing we discovered, like when Francis was here too, is that we weren't pulling a lot of shoulders for years until they came and they were, I mean, that's where some of the reshaping has come from, is from getting down in the ditch and going down 2-3 feet and pulling some material up and kind of reshaping it, because they do, if you just do the top over and over, eventually it just flattens out.
Right, and then
It's like a rivet just keeps pushing
and it's
down.
tough to maintain a crown on that wide of a road too, like. Honestly, Cattail is a perfect example, trying to keep a crown on that.
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean,
too wide.
Way too wide, so that, I'm in talks with a company to see what we can do, but
It's way too wide.
first of all, we're gonna pull it up and reshape it and get it narrowed back up and back into the standards.
Yeah, I think it needs to get, I think it was designed to be paved and just nobody's ever pulled the trigger. Now it's almost unmaintainable at that width for a gravel road.
Yeah, now when you see prices, what they're coming in at now.
Yeah, it's getting,
It's just, but that is one of our roads that we definitely wanna go after next spring and try to shape up and like.
And I'm not nitpicking anybody, but yesterday I happened to be east of Strasburg, and they were blading, and then the guy made his last pass as I was coming back, and he was flying, and I don't know what he was trying to do, where the gravel was going, but it had to end up in the ditch, the speed he was driving.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know anything about it?
We talked about it this morning, so.
So, okay, so you're aware of it?
Yeah, I'm aware of it, and
Okay.
it's a new guy. so-
Because you need to know about it, you know?
Right, no, and we discussed it, so,
Because it wasn't good,
yeah,
okay?
right.
Yeah, okay,
Nope, I get it.
okay.
so you got a full staff now then?
Believe, yep,
Yeah,
I mean,
and how they doing?
pretty good, actually.
Are they?
Just a few minor hit, like.
It's like
learning,
anything else.
learning and stuff, yeah.
Just minor, like training them up and
Well,
stuff.
now actually it's good now, we don't have snow yet, so they can learn how to,
Right,
yeah.
I mean, they just, two of them started in well, they all three started in kind of September. So they didn't get much of a window there and so, and then some of them were in areas that didn't have blade operators. That's a whole new learning curve, right? But, other than those few little things like that, I think they're working out pretty well. So.
Yeah, east of Hague there, somebody had called and said you did a good job of getting those lumps off the road, so appreciate that.
Yeah, and that just happened this summer because we just had filling blade operators, so. I told the operators that were in there now, I was like, this is kind of a good and bad time. It's bad that you get stuck with it, but it's good to deal with it so you know that that's not what you want your roads to look like. So.
It's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve, so. But I think we're panning out and thank Mother Nature for the
Oh, yeah,
good weather we've been
extended time.
having, I mean. this time last year, we had a lot of snow on the ground, so don't wanna jinx
Yeah, no,
this.
yeah, we're-
Don't wanna jinx this, but.
At least the new guys didn't get a baptism like Justin did there,
Right.
right in the middle of a horrible winter.
Right,
The
so,
only thing I wanted to bring up is I had talked to Mike Ravinius a bit, well, when we had met with the DOT at the Association of Counties there in October. And Mike said that they do have some different specs within the class 13 gravel. So we can add a little more rock and stuff and still kind of meet that, because the problem that I think we're having with some of these roads is we get the call that there's no gravel on it. I think there's too much gravel on it, and I think our gravel spec, I think we have an issue where we've probably had some heavy class 13, some maybe on the heavier side of clay. And it's just like anything, the same area that the roads need a better material, we're mining the same material. Like for instance, you take cattail, everybody hates the gravel down there, there's no clay in it. You get up on the north side, everybody hates the gravel, there's too much clay in it. The argument should probably be, and I know it would probably be expensive too, is to probably start considering either blending these gravels or almost hauling from the Wobon pit to cattail. I mean, obviously not specifically corner to corner, but
right.
I think
Just
we need
because
to
of the
focus
material.
more, like, we're focusing on the graveling, which is I think where we need to be. Now I think we need to pinpoint it with our material a little bit. And same thing if we're gonna look at crushing, I think we need to go a little further than just, like, depending on where we're crushing, we might wanna start speccing it even more specific. Like just, we just want a class 13, but well, you maybe can get a class 13 down by Hague, and you're getting a really muddy version somewhere around Braddock or Hazelton, and that's where I think we're struggling with, because I drive some of these roads and they're dry, and they're rock hard, and some of them are awesome. Like, it's like, man, what's people complaining about? And then you get 30 hundredths on it, and it's like, oh my God, like.
Exactly.
And so it's not a lack of gravel. Like, I don't feel it's that. I don't think we're that far behind on the graveling. I think we have some bad gravel out there, and we proved that with the stuff we got from the wind tower guys that time, because it was just, it's fantastic when it's dry. You go by Ron's place, and when it hasn't rained for a month, you can do 80 miles an hour by Ron's.
You get 4-wheel drive, you get up the hill with it now.
Right, if you get 20 hundredths, you're not making it to the highway sometimes, and that has gravel this thick on it, so I know it's not a lack of gravel. I've seen them put that gravel on the road, and it was cheap or free, however you want to look at it. So that's where I'm saying, just as a whole, as a group too, our focus needs to be on the quality of gravel. Not so much that the gravel we put up is bad, but if we have
Gotta be
muddy
placed.
clay roads in the north end, the last thing we want to do is put our heavier class 13 from like Wobon or maybe over by the Mastel pit. We want to maybe reserve that and go down south. And I know we're going to spend some money in trucking, but we got to spend some money at some point to fix some of these roads that are probably over graveled with not the right gravel. Does that make sense? Like, I think that's where we need to pinpoint some of that. To like that Cattail Road, might be in our best interest to haul gravel from the Wobon pit and tighten that road up a little bit with some clay, because we're not getting it out of that Vandervorst pit. That's just a little late. That Vandervorst pit might be outstanding gravel west and north of the county, where we're getting a little heavy on our roads, where we're getting too much clay. We need a little more rock and sand, and I think that would solve a lot of our issues, because I drive some of these roads that people claim are no gravel on them, and it looks like that when it rains, and then when it dries up, you're like, there's plenty of rock and stuff, but it's all clay with it, just, so.
If you run a load from the northeast down, you should back all the way from the southwest up.
Right, oh, that's a perfect example of trying to be efficient, where you could start maybe stockpile, like you said, if you're gonna haul there and then bring a load back and maybe stockpile it at the shop, at least you don't have a spot right away.
You're never running empty.
Right, and you're running loaded and you're trying to, we're gonna have to eat those costs at some point, but literally in a perfect world, if we could take the Vandervorst pit gravel and maybe put half of it in Wobon and vice versa, we'd be in great shape, but we're struggling to find clay in areas we need it, and we have too much in the areas we already have enough, so that's just something, going forward with your gravel plan and your mindedness of things, I think we really need to evaluate our willingness to probably spend some money on the trucking side of it to get gravel in the right places. I think it'll pay dividends in the long run, even though it's gonna be expensive.
We hope.
So you're still graveling now?
Yep.
You can still blade, can't you? We can still cut it later in the afternoon.
Later in the afternoon, but that window's shrinking pretty
Pretty
quickly. Trying to just tune up a few bad spots, cause when you blade when it's this dry out and stuff like that, all you're doing is bringing loose gravel to the top. Then then it goes bye-bye when vehicles go fast and then also just loose material and washboards quicker and easier.
Well, I'm finding too is that top inch or two might get a little bit soft and then you get down into it and the ground's froze almost to foot.
Right.
Like in the roads especially, you get down there and you're like, oh, it's not that bad, you take another scoop and then it's frost for me, so.
Wherever there was traffic, it's froze.
Yep, well, it's been cold, you think about it, even if it hits 55 tomorrow, it's freezing for 17 hours out of the day yet, so it's still,
Right.
we're still losing the battle, it just looks better than we're used to, so.
No, yeah, we'll look into the gravel stuff.
I just think that just
where
needs
we
to be our
start
mindset going
prospecting.
forward, just long term, is like, we need to start putting the right gravel in the right places and not just doing it because it's the closest, because I think that's killing us in some of these roads.
And some of that spots where it's really clayey, when you get that 20 hundredths or whatever, it's because all your rock is probably laying on the shoulders of the road because it's been blown off by traffic. So, no matter how good of an operator you are, you always get a rock in there and plowing snow.
But that's where, like you said, if we're leaving clay behind, it's like, we don't wanna go graveling from the heavier pit, maybe we should just, yeah, it's gonna be an extra 20 miles, but it's gonna be a better road when it's done. I feel like that's money well spent if that's the way, I just think that.
Yeah,
needs to be
take a load back, another spot, north.
No,
So are you looking for next year, lining up trucks to haul again?
we are gonna probably, right after the first of the year, do it and go and mark our roads,
Damn right.
stuff like that, and then try to build a gravel plan, like, for that.
Something we can bid out.
Yeah, so we can bid it out, but more likely this year is probably we're gonna focus a lot on our federal aid roads, cause some of those are, like 89th is the federal aid road out of Strasburg, there's some bad spots in there. Figure we better get those done first.
Well, I know one day I was out there and Emmons was trying to fill the holes in and then, cause I was one of them, I was driving my septic truck, but it was like 4 semis ahead of me and it's like Ellingson just got that hole filled in and got pounded up. So I mean, during harvest, it was pretty tough to keep that road decent, cause there was a lot of traffic on,
So you get federal funding for some of that?
Well, I mean, we could borrow ahead if we wanted to do that, but by the time we do this other federal aid project, there's not gonna be a lot.
not really for maintenance though, right?
For maintenance, you don't get a percentage per year on these federal aid roads, don't you?
Yeah, I thought.
On gravel and mowing? Or am I wrong?
What do you mean, percentage?
Well, you get a percentage reimbursed to you on federal aid roads, or do they allocate money per year to you?
No,
If you have a project going, then,
no, general maintenance, we
I thought you
collect
get
that.
paid on mowing these ditches.
no.
You don't? Oh, I
Cause
thought
even
that you
that
got.
federal aid fund, we collect that, that's our cost match for federal aid and our maintenance costs, like we're responsible for that. The
And
only
that's
time we
all
get,
part of what's on the agenda, this maintenance agreement.
So then why do we cut the federal aid roads?
that's part of our agreement with the federal,
When you initially go on
we
that.
maintain it, we mow it, we gravel it, and if there's a major.
Okay,
If we have a project that the federal dollars come into, it has to be approved, so we go
Okay.
through
just that
even if
question.
it's a graveling project for federal aid, we have to go through the proper processes to get a cost match or anything.
See, I always thought that they were reimbursed per year end.
Right, like if we do a grade raise, right, that all has to get the goes through DOT, local government, which eventually goes up to the federal government, with that they get their stamp of approval to get, 80% cost share or whatever, and that's what, the general day-to-day maintenance, that's all on us, that's our part of the
Okay, I thought that
agreement.
they were reimbursed per year.
Not unless there's some special funding or something that comes through, which is very seldom, it's
And
usually
this
gotta
is
be an
why
engineered
you have this
project.
maintenance agreement in front of you
Yep.
today to act on.
Okay, all right.
If you will.
So that's,
I cleared my thinking up on that.
well, you learn something every day, that's how it goes.
Yeah, but so when we go into this spring, pulling shoulders and stuff like that, nobody's ever gonna be happy when we do it because
It's a mess.
as soon as you start doing it, it'll probably start raining. So when we start, you'll probably get some phone calls, right? But we have to weather that storm and just push through it.
So
We're
when you-
trying to minimize it as much as possible, but I mean.
When you pull them up, how long do you let it sit there then?
Like, what do you mean sit there, like?
Oh, when you pull the digits up before you spread it out again?
Well, the way I'm gonna do it, I wanna pull it up and break it up right away and lay it.
Oh, then you'll break it up right away. Oh, okay,
like,
yeah,
I
I'd
wanna-
rather see,
I'm
yeah.
looking at getting something for that.
Okay.
So we'll actually kind of make like a mini project out of it, pull it up, break it all out, try to pack it in, and then maybe just top dress it with some gravel.
So that's kind of what I was gonna say. Is
Do
I
you
think-
pull the
I
gravel
think-
back before you pull it up?
Depends on what's there. Like, if there's somewhat decent gravel, you can push it to one side and pull one up and then do it like that. But most of the time, by the time you pull that up and blend it around, it all gets mixed in together.
Okay.
Then you just kind of top dress it with some clean, nice gravel.
I think the biggest issue with pulling shoulders is I think we always treated it like maintenance. I think if we treated it like a mini project and we signed it and we did, so people know like, that road is under construction for a couple days or a week or whatever. I think it would be received a lot better. I think people drove it that morning and then that afternoon, when there was a 2-foot window and they didn't know about it and they came with a wide load or they weren't paying attention, then I think they got frustrated. I think we should sign it for them to easily while you're doing the actual work and, maybe put flags on the intersections, like, hey, there's a giant windrow here if you're gonna leave it. And I think if we did a little more of that stuff, maybe put a little notification out, like maybe through the Facebook page or something like, hey, on 89th from 1st to 3rd, we're gonna be pulling shoulders and you have it signed. I think people would accept it a lot more. I think you just go out there on a Monday morning, start ripping a road up without telling anybody, and that's the day they're gonna be moving their hay home or they're bringing a house in or something, then people get upset. I think we needed to do just a little bit more communicating on it. I don't think it needs a bigger problem.
But then what happens and then it rains?
Well, that part of this
Then
just.
again, it's more the muddy roads, that's the.
You tell me a good time when there is to shingle a roof, I'll tell you the same thing too. You just do it. You just do it. And you know what happens when you tear shingles off? It rains. Just every time I've opened a hole this spring to put a septic tank in, it rained. So it didn't stop me from putting septic tanks. You just worked in some mud. It's no fun.
Right.
That's how it's just gotta be. I mean, we're never gonna get it done if you're looking for the perfect day. Like that's where people need to just understand. Spring's a bad time, middle of summer's a bad time, and guess what? Fall's not much better either. At some point, you got a 1 month or 2 month of serious inconvenience for hopefully years worth of better maintenance. That's a deal most people will probably get into.
Anything else, Scott?
This agreement here, Marcy, is just usually the standard federal aid agreement that.
Usually get a motion agreed for you and me and Joe to sign.
I guess I don't really have much unless you guys have other.
You might have to take a little bit down. Okay?
I might have to take a little down.
I don't know what little gets the designate, it depends.
Yeah, it could be.
It depends. It's only 2 foot tall, that's not.
Do we have to save it?
Legally, no, I don't think, it just has to be removed from the right of way.
It should be done right away, because it was court ordered to be off already, and you should get the post pulled out on the section line before you can't get them out anymore.
Which might be already.
I was gonna say.
Might be a little tough already, but.
It might be there already.
Cause it's frozen, and like obviously we don't wanna break them off and then have them sticking out, right? But.
Well, exactly, that'd be worse if you break them off and then they're sticking out a couple inches, that'd be worse.
So are you telling me we have to go out and do it? Is that, so?
Yep.
Well, I think what has to be done is we need to go out there and verify if the fence is in the right of way.
Well, who's out there? It's in the right of way.
Did you take a tape measure, or did you go measure it though? I mean, that's what's.
Well, you could see, I mean. Right.
So you're gonna be on the record that you visually witnessed it being inside the right of way.
Right.
You visually know it's 33 feet off the section line.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not gonna verify that. I'm gonna go out there and measure it if I'm responsible for it, so. So somebody needs, like I said, we need to go out there and verify and identify the parts that are, whether it gets flagged or something, and then either we have the road department guys do that, or Josh, or one of the commissioners, and then that part gets flagged or something, and then that part has to get removed. Because
Well, I could go out with Skyler sometime, we could go look at it, and then
Okay.
stakes are there, yeah. So,
Stakes for.
When the section line is.
Center of the
staked
section
out,
line?
Yes, so you'd have to measure off those stakes and verify that you're at least 33.
Is there more than one stake there?
yeah.
Right, they staked down the way?
X number of feet, they got another one.
Well, so if you wanna go out there with Skylar and verify if any part of the fence is in the right of way and whatever part is.
Do it
It
ASAP.
can be
Well,
removed.
I would like to we now own a GPS, so I'd like to actually stake that, shoot their stakes, if that's the center line of that road, then we'll always have it. If it was surveyed, then
There's pins too.
we'll have those, we'll have that in our file.
Well, if you have that equipment, then there you go.
But they got the, did you help put up the fence or not?
I didn't have to put it up.
Oh, you did?
You wanna help take it down?
I helped move it.
Oh, you helped move it over?
Yeah.
Oh. So where they're over to one side and they're on the, west side, east side, that's the line, right?
Right. The main fence should be
The what?
36 feet from the center.
Well, I mean, they fenced in from the east to the west, up to that creek. And then they fenced in from the west over to the east, up to that creek, where it's straight, where the fence line should be. So it's just a small.
They fenced it right up against Leo Meyer's existing fence.
No.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
on the east side
Yeah, on the east side.
of Whirlingers.
But I mean, when you go from the east to the west, they fenced up to the creek. And then from the creek, it goes up around the top. Right?
I just did what I was hired to do.
Okay.
I'm not a surveyor, I'm just
So if the road department ends up taking this down, are we tracking our time to bill back to the landowner?
Yep. Same thing as a hay bale or a car or a tree.
Okay, it's just, that hopeless, doesn't, or figure out what we need to do is to make
So
sure.
it's agreed that Commissioner Everly and Skylar are gonna go out and identify the parts of the fence that are still in the right of way and get them removed?
Sounds good. I mean, we have to.
Anybody else have a dispute with that? I'm just saying that needs to be the process. Let's iron out how to do it and get it done. So if you and Skylar are gonna go out and identify that the fence is either on or off the right of way, the parts that are on it, you're gonna line it up to get removed. Unless it's gonna be the hiring of somebody, then we need to do that as a group. But if the road department's gonna do it, then you guys are gonna handle that and just take care of it.
So, yeah.
And you're gonna coordinate with Joe to let you know that it's done, and
Okay.
that's the process. Fair enough?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
But the sooner the better, within the next couple days.
I can do it today after the meeting.
Maybe we'll go out there. Okay.
Just get it
Better
done.
take advantage of these 55-degree days
Right.
versus snow blowing across your ears.
So that's
Almost
our-
60 tomorrow.
That's our course of action. We're all agreed. Okay. It's fine with me,
Okay.
as long as it's handled.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have anything else for Skylar, if anybody else does.
Nope.
It's amazing what a year changes, huh?
Yeah, like the.
Instead of having special meetings every 2 weeks, we get to
Yeah.
just meet a little bit in a regular meeting.
Not complaining.
Oh, no, it's not a
I'm not
complaint.
complaining at all.
Merely an
so.
observation, that's all, so.
Did you get rid of the truck?
Not yet, we, it's waiting, I don't, did you ever decide if we can, we have to sell it on auction, right?
Yeah, I guess I would do this, as long as it's over $1,000.
Right, okay, so we're gonna put it on auction, so.
Okay. And did you look over this federal,
Yeah, it just states that we just kinda doing the maintenance what we can.
I mean, you're right, it's, I mean, we agree to this basically, I believe it's every year.
Yeah.
And it's just
we're
that,
still
yeah.
gonna try to get those weeds mowed on the.
Bomb a deal out there, did you?
No.
If you could get a double 9 mower would work. If you